Beerus, my lord, is there something you wish to say?
Here it comes.
Warning. This is a global blackout. Testing the left speaker. Left. Testing the right speaker. Right. Surround successfully recovered. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for...
Forget about the way it used to be. This is not a damn democracy. We are in a state of emergency, and my word is law. There's only one boss in this place, and that's me, the HNIC.
And what it do, y'all? It's your boy King Kurt live, and we are at it once again. Super excited to be back to our regularly scheduled nerdy programming. We had an amazing March Madness. We went through an entire month of our annual tournament event. Thank you to everybody who pulled up, participated, voted, and as always, make it our most popular and fun programming. During the course of that particular event, a lot transpired in not only the nerdy but entertainment world as a whole. A documentary was released exposing some of the dark underbelly of child acting, in particular for a studio that we all knew and love, and for some of us still love, and for others we can't anymore. Nickelodeon. As you can see, I got a full panel tonight from top to bottom, and we're going to get into a lot today that will absolutely be a bit triggering. So as a courtesy, I'm going to put it up periodically throughout this broadcast, but trigger warning, we will be discussing Quiet on Set, SA. I feel it's so stupid, in my opinion, to have to say grape as opposed to the actual word of what it is. But
so for YouTube, that's only for the first 5 or 10 minutes. After that, you can say whatever.
Okay. Well, I'll just say grape, and
I hate it. But yeah, I hate it.
But
if you want to get monetized, the first 15 minutes you can't.
It's the
first 15 or first 5?
It's the first 15. Damn.
First 15 minutes.
But
so wait, so that means
can I still cuss?
No.
Can I cuss?
Not as much.
No.
You shouldn't.
That's
Yeah,
why.
for the
That's why our episodes never get picked up. That makes more
Yeah.
sense.
That's why a lot of those like lives and stuff, the intros be so long.
Right.
Well, I know me, so fuckity fuck fucking fucking. Let's just get that out the way right now. Fuckity fucks and fuck that algorithm. All right. I don't give a
We literally could have made it. It's 7 minutes now.
I wouldn't miss it. My areola started.
Somebody said goddamn when we were 3 minutes in.
Yeah, fuck that.
Find out next time.
Right.
As you can see, we are raw and uncut, typically comedic in nature, but when we cover serious subjects like this, I'm not saying that there won't be some kind of levity in it, but we absolutely will not be making fun of the subject matter because it is a serious subject. I have an amazing panel, and I'm not going to do a whole bunch of talking. You've seen Quiet on Set. A lot of people have already covered it. We're late to cover it because of our event, but we weren't going to not touch this subject because, for one, is there anybody on this panel that was not a Nickelodeon kid?
as far as a fan, or like I wasn't the biggest.
So
I'm not going to say I was the big fan.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon raised me.
I was a huge
Like,
kid.
yo.
I was more Cartoon Network. You know what I'm saying? We
So
could
was
afford
I.
that.
I hate to say it that way, but yeah.
I read
Can I
books.
tell y'all that I grew up as a latchkey kid, and the only way I survived being in a house by myself for long periods of time, and I was one of them Nickelodeon kids where it was the morning cartoons, the afternoon lineup, the children's programming, Nick Jr., Nickelodeon, SNIC, Nick at Night. Listen, I'm talking about the full lineup. Nick at Night, Nick Jr., SNIC, all of that. Face, Eureka's Castle. I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm talking about the obscure shit like David the Gnome and the Koalas. You know, the stuff that's at the late end or early morning, like it's 5 a.m. You like, what is this bullshit that's on? That was me.
Nah.
But this generation of what we're talking about really was a little bit past when I was watching Nickelodeon. This was late 90s. Like this is even past. Like I wasn't a fan of all that. But that first generation of all that, it covers that beginning, that ending part of the first generation going into the second generation.
Into the second generation.
Yeah, of all that. So it's really maybe the next generation up of Nick kids, but for the most part, we all have had some kind of impact from Nickelodeon programming. Don't nobody not know all that Kenan and Kel,
Here you go.
You listen, or Dan Schneider by proxy because he created so much content. When I first saw his face, I said, "Oh, I know that boy from Head of the Class." Thank you for that picture. The portly gentleman underneath the word class is Dan Schneider when he first started out in his entertainment industry. And we're going to get into a lot of things that Dan Schneider did, some comments, some things that have been updated. There's going to be another episode dropping this Sunday. So this is relevant leading right up to the next episode that's going to be released about Quiet on Set. But let me get to these quick introductions. First and foremost, holding it down for HNIC South, coming in all the way via Texas. My man, 50 Grand. Talk to him, Don.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Don Teasy, man, here to, brighten brighten up your screens. And again, like Kurt said, represent for HNIC South. Look out for more from this crew coming out soon.
I love it. Holding it down on. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. She too low on the screen. I don't like that. Yeah, here we go. We put them dusty niggas down at the bottom. That was like, nigga, you just introduced me. Listen, even Martin Luther had one. Everybody needs a dream. Holding that down for the You Asked For It podcast. Bass, talk to him.
What's up, people? I'm Bassing the dream of, like Kurt just said, the U.S. for podcast. You can find me everywhere as Basim the Dream. I think I paid the $10 to update my Xbox the other day. So yeah, wow. Basim the Dream. Yeah, yo, they make you pay $10. Like that shit's crazy.
That's wild.
There's a lot of us on here, but that goes to show how impactful this particular subject is. Number one, many of us have been impacted by SA in some way, shape, form, or fashion, and the fact that it permeated in our childhood. Not that we were oblivious to it, but god damn, everything's all our heroes. Everything's tainted nowadays.
Corey,
speaking of tainted, our favorite alcoholic. You taint your soul with that devil's spit. The man of 1,001 different.
It's only bad when I run out.
Yeah, facts. That's when you sober up. Holding it down for the weebs and the otakus as always. Team Tamagotchi.
You just
fuck
it up.
I did.
Tamagotchi.
No, it's
not Tamagotchi.
What is it, Shaq? Shaq, no. It's not Tamagotchi.
I had one.
That's not. I wasn't saying Tamagotchi. See? I knew you was gonna get on me. That's not. It's I'm a cheap. What?
It's spelled TAM. How do you get Tome?
Shaq, nigga, say what it is. It's team what?
I'm not saying.
You know what, you motherfucker.
Because the song.
All right, Shaq is not in it no more.
The song spells it out for you.
I can't. First of all, I can't spell. So why you gonna do this to me?
Because you need to learn how to spell. Moving on.
Go ahead, Shaq. Introduce yourself. God damn it.
Motherfuckers. What's up, y'all? It's your favorite anime alcoholic. Because AA meetings are for quitters. Sir Shackley, aka One Cup Shaq, aka the Sake Sith Lord, aka Mr. Funny Faces of HNIC, aka the Forgotten Son of Aaron Davis, aka the Prowl of Earth 404, that's how we get for show, aka Lance Rhetoric the second somehow, RIP to my daddy, aka Bucket Hat Shaq, aka the Sage of 100 Sake Cups, aka Mr. What It Do from the South Blue, aka Dual Academy alumni Raw Yellow in this bitch, aka Shaq Steele. Yoga.
First off, somebody, Reva, don't worry if I'm wearing a dashiki. I'm operating in my higher self, which still ain't shit, but I'm trying. Thank you, Shaq. Always magical, just a little bit freaky, with a dash of geeky, holding it down in the DMV as she rises from the ashes like a phoenix. LJ, talk to him.
Hey, I am your part-time geek, part-time freak, full-time villain. Hey everyone, good evening. I'm here. Let's go.
I love it. And holding it down on Twitch. When I tell you her streams are something so innovative, especially in today's time where, whether what gender you are, everybody loves a good shoe. Definitely pull up on her as she games across the digital universe and flexes with her feet. A high heel gamer, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine, a.k.a. the high-heeled gamer.
I know that's right. Listen, y'all need to really pull up on it because not only is it comical, but it's enjoyable. And if, like I said, if you love a good shoe, that's where to be. Coming all the way from the dirty South, again, we got a lot of folks that hold it down for HNIC South and Texas. Some of y'all think she's famous. We like to think of her as infamous. Meek, please introduce yourself.
Hey, babies. I am the infamous Meek. You can find me at Damaged Goods on IG. Today's a serious episode because I put my titties away. The paid actors.
I know that's right.
So,
me and Meek had a conversation before the show. She was like, "This is what I'm wearing." I was like, okay. She was like, "Look, Kurt."
To be fair, I forgot what the subject was.
We was like, "Look, I got glasses on. That's when you know I'm serious."
I'm about to be like Shaq and go put my shades on because
listen,
bro.
We militant as fuck for this episode.
Hey, there's a reason behind it, bro.
Team Tomodachi. Fuck you.
Still
Shaq.
Wrong.
That's what it said. Team Tomodachi.
That's not a Tomodachi.
Wrong.
It's Tomodachi.
Yeah, it is Tomodachi. That's how she spells it. And it ain't a Tomogagagi, whatever the fuck Tef said earlier.
Breathe.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm stressed out. As always, we
Whatever, man. I got
definitely
tequila.
love and support our sister show that holds it down on Thursdays, the Unicorns Straight No Chaser podcast. All things sexual and psychological are broken down in a comical and informative way. The lead host is with us tonight and will be taking point as we traverse this sordid world of child acting. Siren by Night, please introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, hey, it's your queen of extra, your sultan of shenanigans, your diva of debauchery, the official HBIC of the Unicorn Straight No Chaser podcast, where we bring you shenanigans and we traumatize you a little bit.
Janice was like, ooh, he butchered the shit out of that. Addison, this is a very special episode. Yes, we are so serious. All right. And that's all the cousins of the show. Absolutely love when the family comes together. It's a full-blown reunion. Make Unicorns No Chaser the head show. So I'm blocking you now. You can also kiss my black ass. And you can FOH. Let's see if YouTube picks that up. Outside of that, the sultriest voice in the game. When I say she is a front runner for all things, not only creative, but she is the Swiss Army knife of the head nerds in charge. There's not much that she can't do, and even more that she does really well. Foxy Roxy, talk to him.
All right, everybody, what's going on? This is Foxy Roxy, aka The Voice. And yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. This is not that show for me to say the rest.
But listen, you see, I had to pivot on my words. I was about to say the voice that. I don't know if this is a show that can be moist on. Sal said, I don't sound like a hater, nigga. I am a hater. Hate. I hope everything you touch falls apart. I hope all your mail is bills. I hope every time you pull your dick out, it just goes to sleep. Hate. All right.
Hope all your mail is good.
I hope all your mail is bills.
I hope your favorite gallon of milk spoiled, nigga.
I hope you get an allergy to deodorant and you musty all summer.
Oh no!
I hope your AA batteries.
All your left shoes.
Oh no! See, Sal, we are the hateration.
Y'all
This
can't hurt
hateration
Sal.
ain't how you like Mary J was talking about.
For him. Protect yourself for Sal.
Listen, Sal got a thick skin anyway. Anybody that wears nappy braids don't give a fuck about nothing else you say. All right, y'all. Holding it down for the HNIC. When I say if I jump, she jumping in it. Always with the shits and the voice of all things feminism and women-tastic. Be careful what you say around her, nigga, because you might get cussed out worse than me. My doppelganger, the one to clone herself, Teffy Wonder, please introduce yourself. Tell folks how they can support us, and let's get this show started. All right, now rolling up in the camera. We already got a clip about areolas.
Oh my God. First of all, you will 100% get cussed out worse than him. So believe that. What's up, guys? It is at Teffy Wonder here, your wonderful melanated mocha-fied merge on. Happy Wednesday, my loves. Don't start.
Hold up, wait.
Already on the way for the fuck shit, honestly. Yep. Any hoodles. Make sure y'all go to our website, sign up for our email list, headnerdsincharge.com. So y'all know what our goings on. It's raining outside, but we finna be out there, so you know it's finna clear up. Niggas finna be out the fucking about. Amen.
Amen.
Yes.
So amen. Nobody love Jesus in this, you know.
Right. Anyway. So sign up for our email list.
Drive.
You can't be doing these memes, man.
Right. We're going to Legends in the City. It's DJ Mike City's birthday this weekend. So we're gonna be up in New York, partying it up, showing our favorite DJ some love. Make sure y'all pull up as well. While you're on our website, though, pick up some of our dope ass merch: t-shirts, hats, hoodies, bras, straws, bags, blankets, sticker socks. You want it, we got it. HeadNerdsInCharge.com. Listen, step out in a new fit. Head Nerds in Charge gear makes great gifts and whatnot. Sign up for our Patreon as well, patreon.com/headnerdsincharge. And for anybody who's in the city, I have a poll show at my studios. I'm performing at my studio Spring Showcase. You can come up. I'm doing the X-rated 9 p.m. show, so y'all gonna see some yitties, titties, and a few other things, I'm sure.
Hey,
so 1X is yitties, 2X is what do I get with 2X's?
Listen, that I can't spoil the surprise. You gotta buy a ticket.
The show is rated 3X.
I know what 3X's give me, but I just
the show is rated 3X's.
Right.
What's the website again?
And unlike King Kurt Live, y'all show up on time because nigga, the last time you didn't show up, this girl titty popped out like
I missed it
because you was late.
I missed it. The whole reason I showed up too. God damn it. Consensually. All right, y'all. This is gonna be some tough subject matter, but we're gonna thug our way through it. If you have not yet seen the documentary, this is a supplemental show to the documentary. It's episode 284. It's Too Quiet on Set. Us traversing this world of the Nickelodeon underbelly from the Quiet on Set documentary. Gina is going to take point and kind of start us off with the conversation. But before we do, I just want to give first reactions to the documentary. And anybody, I'll try to hurdle the conversation as best as possible. Everybody show each other a little bit of respect and try not to talk at the same time. Sometimes with the way feeds are, we may overtalk each other. So if I shut the conversation down, just please forgive me. I just want to make sure that we hear everybody clearly. I want to talk to one, but I'm going to call people out a little bit. I want to talk to one of the most vocal people about this documentary when we were discussing it as a chat, who had some really valid points, and it impacted this person a lot. Kat, I kind of want to get your first thoughts once you finish the whole thing.
So it took my husband and I watched it together. We binged watched it. It took us a very long time to get through it because we had to stop and pause, and we did the dumbest thing where we try to eat lunch while watching it, and we couldn't finish lunch. Like it was tough. It definitely I was on both sides of the coin with certain people, if that makes sense. I think that's how the saying goes, both sides of the coin, where I can understand certain parents saying certain things because of the time and era that it was in. As crazy as it sounds, in that time, you still didn't talk about things like that. They weren't really teaching sex ed in school, but at the same token, it's like, this is your kid. And if they're telling you this is what's happening, like, you need to protect your child. But I mean, I went through it to where, as an adult, I confessed it to my mother that it happened to me, and she was just like, yeah, okay. There goes Kat just seeking attention again, because I grew up I was a kid and a baby and a kid in the 80s.
Oh no!
Sorry, it does that.
All right. Cool. I'm about to be
it's
like,
raining outside. It's raining outside, so my internet's yeah.
But go ahead.
So this was a little bit after my time, but I still knew of the shows because it was during my sister and my eldest child's time. So I knew the shows and I knew the people in it because my oldest kid and my sister were watching the shows. And yes, I also knew the Dan, what's his face, from head of the class as well. Yeah. Because Kurt, you and I are the same age, if I remember correctly. It was definitely difficult to get through it. We didn't let any of our kids in. We didn't let any of our kids in, and if they came into the room, we would pause it because I wanted to have that conversation without them hearing it from the show itself and having to explain it. And that's just how I want to do it, because I'm already uncomfortable speaking with my kids about certain things. And I know those conversations need to be had. But I didn't want them to hear it on the documentary and then turn to me and be like, explain it, because nobody ever talked to me about anything. And part of me is like, I'm living in 2024, but I also lived through 1990s and 1980s where it wasn't okay to be anything. You had to toe the line, and you had, as a female, you had to be prepped to get married and stay in the kitchen type of thing. So yeah, this documentary definitely hit a lot of nerves. But at the same token, it was like also transforming me back to that time where you didn't speak about anything. So.
It's interesting that you spoke about that. I've been vocal on this show in previous years about my experience with SA, and for those that aren't familiar with what these terms and acronyms are, because TikTok and everything else got y'all saying shit. We're talking about sexual assault, but I had a similar experience, especially again. I hate keep defaulting to it was just the time period, but I was born in '82. Not only it's especially for boys. That's why I felt for Drake. There were multiple times I had to pause the show and I had to turn it off, play video. I had to go shoot people in a video game to be okay to come back to that documentary. And as a young man who also had to go to their parents and be like, listen, I was sexually abused. And same thing, you a boy. Welcome to manhood. You should be happy. It's baffling some of the ways that parents will reason things in their mind and not act. And I think the lack of action in some cases, but the redemption of the parents who absolutely were involved in their kids' lives and tried to stop it. I kind of want to pivot to Meek as a parent. When you saw this documentary, how does that change the way you approach your children?
I had my daughter when I was 17, and so I have always had a very open and honest relationship with her. So the documentary didn't necessarily change anything as far as between my daughter and I. It did make me question my sisters. I have sisters who grew up in that time frame, and it made me wonder if anything ever happened to them, and nobody ever said anything. I too went to my parents and told them that I was essayed by a family member, and he was still invited to the cousin sleepover weekends and things. I was told to stop talking about it because it was embarrassing, and not embarrassing for him, but that it was embarrassing for me, that I needed to stop telling people that because it was an embarrassment. And especially growing up in the South as a woman, we are always told women are to be seen and not heard. And so I wondered how often my sisters or female cousins were put into these positions and weren't allowed to say anything, or weren't believed when they said anything, or told, well, that's just the way life goes. That's just the way it is. And it was just kind of swept under the rug. It broke me for a good little minute, just like it took me a while to get through that documentary because it dredged up so many memories and so many questions about things that were going on behind the scenes before I was old enough to do anything about it.
Yo, that trigger warning for this documentary is real. I'm going to open the floor to whomever wants to kind of talk about how they felt about the documentary. To the panel, first thoughts, feelings for the parents. I don't have children, but to the parents, how did it change how you approach your children? Did it open your eyes to anything? For those that may have been victims of SA, was it easy to watch? And I'm not telling you to talk about your trauma. Just because I'm comfortable with it doesn't mean that you are. But was it difficult for you to watch? Anybody?
For me, it was super difficult. I actually still didn't get through it yet.
Oh, you didn't finish it yet?
No, I haven't finished it yet because
I respect that.
It's just a lot. Like, it's just a lot.
That's how you can say it. It's a lot.
It's a lot. Like, and for me, like, to my personal recollection, I have not been S8 as a child, as an adult, or anything. But to see that and to see the victims and to be able to connect with the victims in that way, or already have those connections, like, you know, it's certain, like, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of Nickelodeon at that particular time, I still was, you know, a fan of child actors, and to see what they had to go through. Like, we kind of had an inclination. I can't even say we had an inclination, because Corey Feldman came out and fucking said it.
Yeah, he did.
Like, came out and said it. Like, so and I can't say.
Barbara Walters had the Gina. What did she say? She had the audacity to part her lips and say, "What?
You're damaging the industry." Or
Yeah, something to that effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, the industry needs to be burned at this point, because that means that you basically are enabling it.
Right.
So yeah, that was the biggest thing I got from it.
Anybody shocked at how many pedophiles? You know what?
No.
I was about to say I don't want to get too deep, because I don't know the journey that Gina's going to take us on. But before we actually start to get into the docuseries, is there any Tef? I'm kind of curious, because I want to go to Tef and then I want to go to Don, because Don, as a new father, I want to know his take on the father. Yeah, and then well, Tef, I want to know your opinion first, and then I'll go to Don.
So I didn't find it like super hard to watch at all. I think that that R. Kelly thing really desensitized me a lot, because I was that R. Kelly documentary show or whatever, it turned me every which way but
You know, I didn't even watch it because
I was about to say I didn't watch it.
Yo, I did. I could not.
If you couldn't get through this, I wouldn't. If I was you.
That's Surviving R. Kelly, right?
Yeah, I did the whole. I like binged it in like. I watched like all 4 seasons in like a weekend or something like that. And yeah, a bitch has never been the same.
Yo, once they said that he had what did they say? He had like a bedroom in the studio?
Yes.
Yeah.
And like stars we love knew he was taking little girls back there and didn't say. Never mind. I don't even want to get into it because it's not Surviving R. Kelly. But go ahead, Tef.
But yeah, so I was a little desensitized. I would say to the subject matter, and then some of it was like was just confirming things that we had like that I had known like for years. Like I remember when the grape case came out, it was always speculated that Drake was the victim, but he's never named in the court case. But it always been speculated, so it just kind of like confirm those things. It was just, and this was at the time that they're talking about was a time where I was a little bit older and moving away from Nickelodeon. But it was still strange because like I said, I remember writing in, trying to get on auditions and being like, pick me for these contests. I want to be on this TV show so bad. And like now
trying to get on Guts.
Not literally like what was that? Temple of Hidden Doom or whatever.
Hidden Temple.
Yeah, I remember writing to be on all that and doing all their contests and shit like that, hoping I would get picked, and flew out to Orlando and shit.
You was gonna be a purple iguana.
Listen, so you didn't. The fucking joint was 3 pieces. I don't know how these niggas couldn't.
I just want to know why the black kids was always the silver monkeys. You ever notice that? Never mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, but yeah, so it was just it was like I said, it was more like a confirmation for
Mhm.
me. And then there were some things that Gina will probably get into, some things that like just don't get spoken about because not all the stars mentioned speak in the documentary. And while it's a little disappointing, people do not owe you their trauma and their stories. So
Amen.
it was a lot. It was
Don,
a lot to go through in like those like 3 hours where we were like live texting it in the group chat.
yeah. And I think that thread was what really impacted us because we were doing March Madness and I honestly was going to bypass it and be like, all right, everybody else is covering, ain't no point in us doing it. But it was the collective of the group. Like we talked about that for days. We have still continued talking about it because even now more information is coming out. So it's been a lot on social media. Don, new father. First of all, love my niece.
Oh yeah, no,
We
that
definitely pulling up on
documentary.
any nigga that even
Listen,
listen. I'm just saying flights,
it
and I'll pick up the guns and text
it would have been more. It'd have been more like A Time to Kill. You know,
it's up, it's up, it's up. But watching Drake's dad, especially as a new father, how did that impact you?
Yo, that's honestly that was one of the most infuriating parts of the documentary to me. The way that his dad peeped early, you know what I'm saying, that things weren't right. He started bringing attention to it, and they immediately started gaslighting them. And that's everybody, every person in leadership involved. So that's like from a studio level, right? Because he says he goes to talk to somebody, one of the people in production, and she brushes him off as like homophobic at first, and then that gives Brian the pedo, that gave him the ability to start building this wedge, and the fact that the one thing he asked for, like, hey, look, whatever, I'll take the L, so he can continue having his career. Just don't leave him with this dude. And I that broke me, man. I don't know if I'd be something like that. Yeah.
Real quick, I want to kind of go, and I want Gina to answer this question. Nitro 9K says, I haven't watched any of the documentary, but how much do y'all believe the adults on some of these shows didn't know? I'm not sure how much of that was addressed. Are you going to talk about that, or do you want to answer that right now?
Am I going to talk about whether or not the adults actually knew?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really just speculative. That would be your feelings on whether they knew or not.
It's never really addressed.
I took it episode by episode. So definitely for episode 3, I really come down on Drake's mom.
Oh, well, so you're going to get into it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'm about to give it to you. I don't want no Dan Schneider issues. Listen, we're about to let Gina take us on this tour. But before she does, I want to preface it with the most famous person to come out of the Nickelodeon world, Kenan. He had some comments on it, and I want to play the comments.
It's a tough subject, because it's tough for me because I can't really speak on things that I never witnessed. You know what I'm saying? Because all these things happened after I left, basically. And Dan wasn't really on Kenan and Kel like that. I mean, he got it created by credit, but, it was a different showrunner. So our worlds weren't really like overly, overlapping like that outside of all that necessarily. And then all that negativity kind of started happening outside of like our tenure there, you know what I mean? So like, I wasn't really aware of a lot of it, but my heart goes out to, anybody that's been victimized or their families, you know what I mean? I mean, like, I think it's a good thing that the doc is out and it's, putting things, on display that need to be, stories that need to be told for this, accountability's sake. But it's definitely tough to watch because I have fond memories of that place, and I have fond memories of, my co-stars and stuff like that. So to hear that they've gone through terrible things like that is it's really tough.
So now we will hand it over to Gina and take
Oh
us
Lord,
through Quiet on Set.
you gotta hit me on a large screen.
All right, hold on. I'll try to find a more reasonable. But just get us started if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you, darling. Well, obviously, a large part of the documentary focuses on Dan Schneider, who was the former producer and the creative force behind the hit shows iCarly, The Amanda Show, Kenan and Kel, Sam and Cat, Victorious, and Zoe 101. He launched the careers of a lot of teen stars, Amanda Bynes, Ariana Grande, and of course Drake. So around 2017 is when we started to see videos circulating about how a lot of the setups and skits reference porn. So you'll get those episodes where like Jamie Lynn Spears, she had the glue on her face, and Ariana Grande, and a lot of those foot fetish moments.
This is not to interrupt you. That's disturbing as hell.
Yeah.
When you see the still,
No,
yes.
like when you see the stills, like there. Why is this like I? Okay, so real quick,
The online content was wild.
Because my thing is, it's like, you know how sometimes people be like, oh, it's only sexual because you're sexualizing it. My guy, I don't know. Before Gina continues, real quick, do you think it could? Do you find that humor funny for? Well, I'm not even going to ask that because I know the answer. First of all, do you find that humor funny for adults? That's the question I would.
I didn't like it when they did it on There's Something About Mary.
I thought Insecure had a scene where she got nutted in the face. It was kind of funny.
I mean, Insecure.
Insecure,
right?
But yeah, and I was about to say, like, that's the same thing with there's something about Mary, like that was still an adult, like that was an R-rated movie, like it wasn't like it was PG-13.
But I mean, to that point, what I'm saying is, like, some people do not find that appropriate in adult movies.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I mean, I always believe in context. Sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's not. When it's never funny is when children are funny. So Gina, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
I mean, just really quick, I came to watching all of this and taking the notes for it. I have a theory that he actually probably was paid to put these skits.
Wait a minute now. You putting theories out there. You got to sprinkle allegedly on it.
Allegedly.
Everything we say here is allegedly, unless it's been proven already.
Watch that YouTube channel.
It would make sense to me, right? That if he was involved with some type of sex trafficking or, child pornography ring, hey, this is what I want to see this Ariana Grande do. This is what I want to see happen on this show. And he gets paid for it. And it's right in front of everyone's face. That's just me. It could be a conspiracy theory in my head, but that's what it feels like, because it's just like, where did you get this from? Why did you think this was funny? What was the point?
Right.
But a little bit about Dan. Dan was definitely always the awkward fat kid. He comes from Memphis, Tennessee. He goes on to be on Head of the Class. And he wrote the pilot for All That. That's what put him on the map. So initially, he was known as the fun, self-deprecating boss, but quickly we saw that it was something more sinister behind his personality. One of the people that they interviewed was Leon Frierson, and so he was the young boy that played Noseboy. I don't know if you guys recall the Noseboy skits, but one of the things he was saying was that it's clearly a penis. It's clearly a penis. So he was saying that he definitely hated wearing those leotards because he was a young man coming into his manhood, and it was noticeable. He did not want to walk around like that, and he did not like the costume that he had to wear, because I would imagine even as a child he can look at that and say that's a penis.
So wait a minute, hold on. I got to pause you now.
Go ahead.
I know you're saying yes, that's a dick. It's also a nose. I had a hard time with this one. I can absolutely see why somebody could construe it as something phallic. But even if it's a nose, it's still ignorant as hell. Because why is the nose so goddamn wide nostril?
All right, so pull up his adult picture again. That man has a big ass nose. Like, let's not. As a child, he had a big ass nose. Like,
but see, my thing is, it's
look at the shoulders. The side profile looks like balls.
I'm not saying it don't look like a dick and nuts. It does. I'm not saying that it doesn't.
But it also looks like a nose.
Yeah, it looks like a nose. But I'm saying whether it's a nose or a dick, it's doubly inappropriate. Why would you put a black kid?
Racist and pedophile. Yeah.
Right. That's why. What I'm saying is because a lot of people were making the argument, oh, but it is a nose. Okay, even if it's a nose, it's still inappropriate to put a black young child with this
position to be a caricature.
Yeah,
right. They should have just named him Monkey Man and like just.
Thank you. That's all I'm saying.
Legit.
If you're gonna hide the pedophilia, could you hide the racism as well?
Why? Why should they? They wasn't hiding the pedophilia, so why are we gonna hide the racism?
I'm gonna go to Foxy and LJ. When y'all look at this as black women with young black children, well, not young, but
it says Captain Big though.
Yes, it says Captain Big, and you got 2 penis shoulder pads on your arms.
Yeah, nah, bro.
No, they knew what they were doing.
What about you, LJ? Do you see the same thing?
So I do see it when they pointed it out. Because I think for me, I'm looking at these clips and these videos and I'm thinking about it from that childlike humor that you're not seeing it. We see it because we're adults and we're warped. But
yeah, we fucked up.
But as a kid, I'm like, okay, they did a really poor costume in the 90s. Like,
yeah.
And even with the jokes, like, I can see how during that time frame as a kid looking at it, oh, she got hit in the face with the goo. Ha 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 ha. Like my parents actually took me to Nickelodeon Studios and like that was when I wanted to go in. Like I wanted to be just like Tef was saying. I was hoping to see a show, all that good jazz. Like it was life. So I see how it's supposed to be a kid joke, but we're adults now and we can just see through the lines.
So I love what you just said, LJ, and I'm gonna give it back to Gina because I'll run my mouth all goddamn day. But Nickelodeon made its bones on, and I think Darius just said it, operating within the margins. There was a show called You Can't Do That on Television. And I can't. You don't even nod the head. I know you know that's like early Nickelodeon.
It was the original All That, if you will.
Yeah. Yes, it was the original sketch comedy show, which incorporated kids and adults. But every time you said "I don't know," they would drop slime. Well, that's actually where sliming came from.
It tastes like pudding.
Not back then.
Yeah, not back then. It was actually oatmeal and something terrible. Just
because it stunk and it was difficult. Yeah, sorry.
In the green, see, I can't. I mean, we be old and shit. But anyway, but also if you said water, they would pour water on you. Now, mind you, they had these young girls in white shirts. Yeah, they had these young girls in white shirts, and I mean, I don't care what you say. You pour any kind of slime on a woman, it can always be construed as something sexual with ejaculate. Just keeping it a buck.
Or like if you pouring water on them, and sometimes the slime would be watery, it'd be real thin.
Right.
So it's like,
So G, I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. Whether it's phallic or whether it's just racist, that's inappropriate. Shaq, before I give it back to G, if you were one of those Nickelodeon kids and they handed you maybe not the shoulder pads, maybe not that exact costume, but growing up as a young man and having to wear that leotard, them tight. I remember wrestling and hating my one. I hated my one set.
Them singlets.
Them singlets, bro. I was like, hold on, and I the cup cut into my thigh meat. No, you got all your twig and berries out. Could you understand the trepidation of that young man?
I guess I know, like, especially for me, if something's uncomfortable, I was always taught to like address it immediately, so there can be a solution to be found.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if the shit look like it's gonna be uncomfortable, like, can I wear something else? Can I wear some basketball shorts that's the same color as this as a substitute? Because this ain't gonna work for me to actually
smart. Yeah. That's that actually, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. His mama was vocal. That's why they got both they black asses up off that set. Predators don't like nobody that's paying attention. G, please continue.
Okay. So before there was Amanda Bynes, there was a young actress by the name of Katrina Johnson. So originally, she was, the big actress on all that. Unfortunately for Katrina, she went through puberty. And as she went through puberty, she no longer looked like a child. She ended up becoming curvier, and that's definitely not what they wanted. During the course of this is when Dan, goes and sees Amanda. And then he falls in love with Amanda Bynes instantly, okay? She's like a young comedic actress, and he brings her into the fold, and essentially Katrina was edged out once Amanda came into play.
I'm gonna bring these pictures up, Gina. Just let me know if I'm showing the right pictures for the right.
Okay.
People. Continue. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I'm bringing up the right pictures for the right person.
You looking for Katrina?
Yeah, I got her. Go ahead.
Okay. So they, like I said, they edged Katrina out.
Right person, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So as you can see, Katrina ended up. She's a curvy, voluptuous woman. That's does not work in favor when you are supposed to be a child and you want to look like a child for as long as possible, even as you're aging.
She low-key looks like Jennifer Tilly now.
She looks like who?
Jennifer Tilly.
I thought that's who it was. Oh, thank you, John. In my head, I was like, yo, in my head, I was like, ain't that? But go ahead.
But Amanda and Dan had an unusual relationship. So a lot of times Amanda would go missing on set and she would be with Dan. Now, what they were doing, I do not know. At that point in time, Amanda's father was fine with the situation.
There's nothing appropriate about this.
No. A lot of times people looked at her father as like treating Amanda like a wind-up doll. And once Katrina went away to college, this is when Amanda finally gets the Amanda show. So now that she has the Amanda show, it's a new level of control for Dan. He really invades every aspect of Amanda's life. There's two roles that girls normally occupy in Hollywood. This is what they said on the show. You had a sweet and innocent like Shirley Temple, or either they hypersexualize somebody, for example, like Britney Spears.
Gina, if you could take a beat real quick. I want you to kind of elaborate more on Shirley Temple. Could you just give us a brief overview of Shirley Temple, who she is?
Well, Shirley Temple was like one of the original child stars, back when it was still black and white. There has been a lot of controversy going around about Shirley Temple and her movies, and how there was a lot of pedophile themes in her movies and inappropriate interactions between her and her adult male co-stars. So, the way she would sing to them or touch them, or just the way they interacted.
Like almost like lovers.
Yes. But
they ain't never had that child in no damn pants.
She
stays sitting on somebody's lap.
Yeah.
And the little baby doll dresses.
Mm-hmm. They infantilized her a lot.
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna bring it up because I already felt my hair stand up. Trigger warning: we will be discussing a lot of essay and strong themes that border the subject matter of pedophilia. If you're not aware, you're just tuning in. We're talking about Quiet on Set. I'll be giving these trigger warnings throughout the duration of the broadcast for these pauses, especially when I feel creeped out. Gina, please continue.
So to round out the first episode, right, they started to discuss what the female writers were going through on the set. So there were only 2 female staff writers, right? Chrissy Stratton and Jenny Kilgan. They were required to share a salary. And for me, that is the first problem. You
Wait a
can
minute. What you mean share salary?
So whereas you as a man would get a certain amount of money, me and Tuffy would have to split your salary in 2.
And that was illegal at the time, correct?
It's illegal today.
Tuffy's like it never was not.
Has never been legal, in fact.
For me, that would have been my first issue. And then we had this argument on my show where they were just like, well, you know, it wasn't a lot of opportunities for women back then, and they wanted to get their foot in the door. I don't care. I'm white. I'm a white woman. I'm gonna get my foot in the door somewhere.
Yeah,
with my money.
I hate to say it like that, but white women, I mean, they absolutely go through oppression, but not like black women. You know, anyone wasn't no black woman going to get up in there.
But
white women, in addition to having second place in our oppressive hierarchical structure, are also the largest recipients of affirmative action. So she would have been all right.
Also, like, let's not forget, in the next episode, it only takes 1 phone call and they fix it for them immediately.
Yo, and she won the lawsuit.
Yeah. Well, I have so many feelings about that, and like the situation with the writers.
Oh, I'm sure. Wait a minute, because I'm gonna let Gina go get into it, and then Teffy, I want to hear the woman's perspective on this, especially all the ladies. When the men gonna shut the fuck up and take a step back, because I actually want to talk about power dynamics in the workplace for us and how we, because anyway, go ahead, Gina. I'm sorry.
No, you're absolutely fine. I mean, of course, Dan was of the opinion that female writers were not funny. However,
he did say that.
But you employed 2 female writers. A lot of gaslighting going on. So he developed this character. One of the things that they were very uncomfortable with were that he developed a character called Penelope Taint for Amanda. And all of us here know what the taint is. Everyone knows what it is. I don't like
perineum.
If you don't know,
it's the roadway between heaven and hell.
If you don't know what the taint is, it is that little area right underneath of the balls before the anus, where
the moistest of the moisty spots.
I gotta remember what show we're doing, but that's what the taint is, okay? And they thought that it was funny to name this child Penelope Taint. Of course, he was told, do not tell them what this means, because they did come and ask, what does the taint mean? And they lied about what he actually meant by it. My thing is, they didn't really want to know, because if you came to ask, you already knew what the hell it was.
Right.
And what the conversation should have been, you need to change the name. That's what it should have been.
Yo, could you imagine as kids, we was really running around saying taint? Well, I knew what it was at a very early age. But
Amanda, please.
Right.
Well, go ahead, Jay.
But they continue to deal with a lot of discrimination. One of the young ladies, she got fired for doing like 2 personal things because she's supposed to be available at all times. And another young lady, she was told that if you pretend that you're being sodomized, I will put your sketch in the show. So these are the type of things that they dealt with during their time with being.
Wait, the one, I don't want to gloss over that one. Yeah, he told one of the women writers that I believe it was this one, right?
Yeah.
Simulate.
Yes.
I want to hit that nail hard. That was a terrible.
Yes,
Either
it
way,
was.
I want to hit
Yeah.
that as a point.
There you go.
He told a woman, simulate being sodomized, and I'll put your sketch in the show. If you don't, you could be punished.
Well,
Or
no. So that wasn't that situation. It was like she had to tell a story or a joke or something and pretend to be sodomized while doing it the entire time. Then there were other things where he would harass them all day, like making them yell things out. He'd offer like money for like doing like
and
certain
not pay 'em.
favors
Okay,
and then
there's
never
Incentives.
pay and never like make good on it and stuff like that. And then he'd be like, "Oh well, if you don't do this, then how bad do you really want to be here?" And it's like,
yeah, what was it? 300 for this ice cream, and
yeah,
Reva just said,
she had to eat 2 pints of ice cream in 30 minutes,
Yeah.
and she threw up afterwards.
could you imagine doing that on a
Didn't
job
eat
now? Like I work part of HR for my. Oh my! Everyone would be fired. Everybody would be fired quickly, but this was the 90s.
Also,
Gina?
consent is a thing. Like if you really want to do it. Jenny, the one that ended up being fired, she did go on to sue Dan for gender discrimination and creating a hostile work environment. They gave her a settlement, and she thought after that, things are going to change around there. But
No, because now I could just pay. I was about to say, now I know I could just pay it off.
Yeah. So that was kind of like one of the points I wanted to get to, because like they went through all this bullshit, and like she said that they knew that suing him was career suicide, but that it would be worth it if it meant he couldn't do that
Look at
to
this.
anyone else.
Look
And
at
then
how could this be construed as anything else?
because parents weren't watching what the kids were doing online.
I'm sorry, Tab. I didn't mean to interrupt, but go ahead, continue.
No, but I'm saying like, so basically they were like, oh, well, I'll give up my career if it means that he can't do this to anyone else. And Nickelodeon was just like, oh, well, we'll give you enough money to pay. Like it's not that he didn't suffer any consequences, but like there was never really enough. And it was, to me, one thing that stood out was that Dan Schneider was very obviously a very small man who was given an immense amount of power and decided that he was going to make that everybody's problem at any given point in time. Because after the situation, he would ask them for like massages, and he would require women, specifically women, on the sets of all his shows to give him massages. Well, and these weren't like masseuses. Like at one point it was the costumers.
Yeah.
Who'd be like, "Oh, you need to come rub my shoulders." Sir, that's not the fucking my job description.
I wish
But you could
somebody
be
would
fired
accept
if you
one
didn't
of them.
do it. But you thought you could be fired, or he'd find another way to fucking harass you if you didn't do it. He also had the young female stars giving him massages.
Wild. Let me just say this. In the nerd community, there are a lot of Dan Snyders out there. You can tell when y'all get on these. Listen, I'm just saying, when you get a little cosplay recognition, or when you get in position of power, or when you get in any position where you have oversight over something, please don't think that Dan Schneider is an isolated incident. We get it. When you were growing up, maybe you did not have the attention, love, and care. Maybe people treated you like shit. Maybe you weren't the most popular person. Maybe you were insecure. That does not mean you get to turn around and be the thing that you hated growing up. G, please continue.
So we fast forward. Amanda is now 16. And what I like about you is set the premiere on the WB. Okay. This is when she begins to have her issues with her parents that are largely influenced, issues that are largely influenced by Dan Schneider. She tries to run away from home. Dan helps her. She wants to be emancipated, and he's assisting her in trying to get this emancipation from her parents. Fortunately, her request to be emancipated did not work. It failed. And this is when the ties between Amanda's parents and Dan are completely severed after the failed emancipation, which, you know, I don't know whether that's good or not because her parents didn't seem to be much better than he was in certain.
Yeah, Khalil said it best. To wear my hug. Dan is the wear my hug guy.
Nah, except for where my hug guy could fire you and make your life miserable. Like he's not just somebody you could run away from at a con.
Right.
This nigga is way worse than that.
And you know what? To Carolyn's point, that was the part that was confusing to me. If I'm this big time producer, I'll pay a masseuse.
But you're a man
That's
of
not-
power, and
I
you
was
it's
about
more
to
about
say-
The masseuse is going to give you the power trip.
Got you.
Right.
Got you.
It's about power.
Got you. It's got nothing to do with the massages. It has everything to do with the power.
I think,
trip.
like Reva said, it's about making the girls that never would have paid him any attention at that age pay him attention now.
Even as young women. Oh, even as young women.
Yeah,
it.
and then requiring it of the older women who still didn't want anything to do with him.
It's the same way as rape is not really about sex. It's really just a power dynamic. That's what it's all about. And this is something he could do in plain sight to let everyone know what his status is. Look at what I can make them do.
I want to take a beat real quick. I want to ask the men a question. Many of us work in secular positions of power. When you hear about a person named Dan, we all know that guy at the job. And if you don't know that guy at the job, 9 times out of 10, you're that guy at the job. It's keeping it real. When you see other men do that, do you intercede? I'm not
yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. I actually just not recently, but within the last year, actually was helpful in getting someone that just wouldn't heed my warnings fired from my job.
Okay. Shaq, what about you? Oh, sorry.
So yeah, I warned him. I was like, bro, like I get it. She's not denying you and you're not technically above her, but this is still sexual harassment because all it takes is for her to say, yo, I'm all of these sexual advances are unwanted and it's up for you. And he didn't want to believe me and ended up having a situation not only with a coworker, but a situation with a customer that, and I'm like, bro, I don't know what else to tell you. I've told you this multiple times, numerous times. It is what it is at this point. So when they came and asked everybody, they came and asked me, I was like, yeah, I witnessed it. What you want me to say? I told him directly first. Right. He didn't listen. So now here we are.
Shaq?
From my previous job in my profession, I had the duty and responsibility to make sure that I take action if such things occurred. And I've had a few instances in that work where I addressed it and handled it as professionally as possible and made sure that those personnel have been removed from the Army because that is unacceptable. I tell everyone that comes under my I'm trying to explain it without going
I know.
But
I know you want to keep your job while still talking.
Majority of my students who come to my unit for training, we tell them first day what is not acceptable and that I deal with adults and not children. And if you choose to make an adult decision, you will have adult consequences. One of my more serious cases was dealing with a 33-year-old who was involved with a 19-year-old, and I told him he's going to fuck home, and you will not only be kicked out of the Army, but you will be unable to join any armed forces in this country.
I know that's right.
Because that is unacceptable. And it got worse because his own mother from Ohio drives down to say that I made a mistake. It's like, no, man, you failed him. This man is 33 years old, messing around with 18 and 19-year-old old children's careers. You lucky someone's dad don't come and beat his ass.
I know.
Mm.
I can
You
see.
like I ain't beat his ass.
Shaq,
This
I
motherfucker
can
me.
see your eyes through those sunglasses. I know. I know how you feel. No, that's
And
real
so
shit.
that.
No, I'm sorry, Shaq. I didn't mean to cut you off. I did. I thought you were. No. Did you want to say something before close out?
No, my biggest thing is that, and once again, we all know the Army, the military ain't perfect, but like I've always been taught since I joined that the standard is what you are willing to not stop.
Ooh.
And if you don't stop it, that becomes your standard.
That's a bar.
I've lived by that for the last 15, 14 years of me in uniform, and I will not never change that. Fight me.
That's my nigga. Don, talk to me.
Oh yeah, nah. There's been a couple of times throughout my career where I've had to kind of intercede in situations like that. Either, definitely have like a off the record conversation with
Outback. I get it.
Yeah, back channel a little bit, if you will. To just check and when educate people, right? Like, hey, look, you probably got the best intentions in the world, but this ain't how we can navigate. What you do on your own time outside of here, it's your business, but not something like that going on in the workplace. And I've, especially in leadership positions, I've had to let some people go, over creating a work environment that's not comfortable, that's not safe. Like, I feel like it's enough that people got to deal with coming in and trying to, get their money and pay your bills. Like, I don't need the women on any of my teams like having to dodge the dude sitting next to them too. Like, that jumps whack. So,
facts.
Yeah.
But can I enter? So, if you don't mind, because
please.
I manage a female dominated store, and when men actually come through and apply, and if we bring them on, I've had to deal with the females coming to me saying that they're making, and sometimes it's just jokes, we crack jokes here, but we're family. We don't, but you're talking like strangers. When I hire men, I actually hire men to work with me until I get a vibe for them before I put them with any of my other team members. Especially working things like night shifts or something like that, because
you take the heat.
Yeah, like and before I even schedule the men with the women, I touch base with all the females to make sure that they'll feel okay and be comfortable before I leave them alone. It's a thing that I have to do. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I had a situation the other day where the lady was like, yo, he was cracking jokes, and I told him to back off, and I was like, so how do you want me to move? Do you want me to? And she's like, well, I've talked to him. We've had a conversation, but I don't, I'm okay. So now I intentionally make sure that their schedules never touch.
Yeah.
I also had a situation where I had a 20-something odd year old messing with it. They weren't messing, but they were getting extremely close to a 16-year-old. And again, it was one of those things. I think he knew his boundaries, but she didn't. And this time it was actually on her, and I had to talk to him and be like, you a grown ass man, and I'm gonna need you to not. And then I had to talk to her and be like, you can't do these things. Like, I've had to have the really awkward conversations.
No, I respect that, because, and it's something that you said earlier. You said we're family. And I just want to say this. Yes, HNIC, we are loose and wild with the jokes. I cannot say that appropriate things are said all the time, but I can say, for me personally, because I get very comfortable with people, I will always double back and be like, hey, if I said anything uncomfortable, or if I said anything to offend you, please tell me so that I know in what manner we can joke. And I won't be offended. I just need to know if I said anything that made you feel uncomfortable. And if you don't feel comfortable telling me, I have other women within the organization that you can, please, I implore you, talk to them, and then they'll come and check me.
I can co-sign that.
Listen, when I tell you, when you're strong, and I feel for Dan in the sense that I know what it's like to be in power and think I have this autonomy. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. I'm the guy that makes the decisions. Who doesn't love me? You don't know how people are impacted by your power, whether you flex it or not. So Dan would have been better served putting someone next to him that was a woman that he gave full right to be like, stop the bullshit.
He didn't respect women in that way, so it wouldn't have worked.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm just saying.
It was on Nickelodeon to put those checks and balances in place, and they did not.
And agreed. Yes, Nickelodeon 100% failed, but it works because King Kurt has a Teffy Wonder to be like, "You fucking up. Don't do that." Or,
but you're
hey,
too.
that doesn't look right.
But also, you also have other men around you that will check you.
But see, I know my brothers are going to check me.
Yeah, so like you don't ever have to worry about like that. If you ever act inappropriate in front of me, you know I'm gonna pull you to the side. I've done it.
But I think it's because we expect it from men. I'm talking about.
See, if you ask women, men don't check men. We don't check each other.
The thing is, we know the truth of the matter. But it hits different when a woman can come to you and say, "Hey, another man might not have saw that as inappropriate, but I'm here to tell you that's inappropriate." So, to any other women on the panel, I don't want to get too bogged down in it because we still got a lot to cover in a short amount of time. But I don't want to invalidate experiences. I want people to know that this was not just Nickelodeon. Have you experienced inappropriate behavior from someone that was unconsensual and unwanted in the workplace? If I could just, ladies, how many of y'all have experienced that? If you raise your hand, say yeah.
Like everybody. I was part of a whole like investigation at one point in time. Like one of my first jobs was I was like a certified nursing assistant at a nursing home, and there was like a director there, a white man, and he definitely was sexually harassing all of the black nurses and black nursing assistants, and it was just common knowledge. And at the time I was only like 19. And I remember them like saying to me, like, okay, well, why didn't anyone say anything? And I was like, no offense, but we didn't say anything to you because we're black, we're young, we're black, and he's a white man, and we just assumed that no one would care. And I'm older now, it wouldn't happen like that. If I was
older and bolder, baby.
If I was the person I am now, but at that point in time, a lot of us, like, it was like our first real job, making some type of substantial money and having benefits and all these things like that. And so nobody wanted to really rock the boat.
And the sad part is another woman would be like, don't mess up that good job. That's the crazy part. Roxy, have you ever experienced that?
Yes, actually, I've experienced it as a patient. And in the beginning stages of being diagnosed with narcolepsy, I had to see a neurologist. And so where he's asking me all these different questions, and then he's taking, the little, whatever the scope is, look in your eye. And he was really, really close. Like he's one cough away from his lip touching mine.
Oh.
And so
you ain't got to do all that to diagnose me.
No. And then after a while, he was asking me questions about when was my last mammogram and things like that. And I'm like, I'm here for what's going on up here. And everything started revolving around my breast. And then let me look in your eye again, things like that. And then as I'm getting ready to leave, oh, you can call here anytime and I'll get you right in. And it was just the most very uncomfortable experience. And so later on, I had to go back and get a second opinion. And normally at the office that you go to, a lot of times specialists you can't just hop from different specialists if you have somebody already following you. but I requested someone else. And when I spoke to the woman, and this is, I had someone, it was another female, she was like, why didn't you want to go back to him? And I explained, and she said, I understand. And the fact that she knew. And
Yeah.
then I think maybe
That's-
within about a couple months later, he was no longer there.
Listen, ladies, I appreciate your experiences that I'll never fully understand as a man, because even unwanted advances from a woman don't hit the same as an unwanted advance from a man, because never in my mind it might be a nuisance, but it's never dangerous for me.
Yeah, when I did home health and like people's like relatives and stuff would be like trying to get you alone, and I'd be like,
yo,
bro, I'm just here to work. Like, don't. Please don't. I got a man, like I was engaged at the time, and that shit don't mean nothing to niggas who don't have shit to lose. And don't
There's
have
something
nothing
about a
to
man
promise.
cornering you. Because even Dan, it's something about a man cornering you. Like Dan, they said Dan would take his camera, and I don't want to step on what Gina was going to, but I don't know if he was going in that direction. But
That he was invading personal
yeah,
space.
he was like walking up into the kids' spaces with cameras in their face, and I think one of the adult male co-hosts would try to yell out or make a scene to get his. Now it's like he's a predatory animal. Like I had to make myself big and make noise to
Brother
distract
from
them.
iCarly.
No, yeah, but like, but think about all the times that he maybe wasn't there. Because, like I said, when I did home health, you taking care of sick and like disabled folks. So I would be in a place by myself. It like most of the time not in my neighborhood. So not even in a neighborhood I knew well, alone with my client or whoever. I'll never forget this because it was funny because it came up a second time. This guy's nephew, client sleep, and I thought, oh, thank God, easy day. The bull just gonna sleep through the shift. I'm filling in for another aide. Now, didn't know why the aide wouldn't come back, but I got a good idea now. And the bull's nephew comes out, and he's like, people come out, they speak to you, hey, what's up? He's like, oh, do you like coffee? And I was like, yeah, I don't really drink coffee. It's cool. Like, we're not supposed to be eating and all that other stuff in here. No way. You're not supposed to be letting people give you stuff. And this guy would not stop trying to get me to drink this coffee I had already told him I did not want. He asked me more than a dozen times to go in his bedroom and just hang out and watch TV. He like, oh, well, my uncle he gonna sleep. You don't really have to sit here. And I was like, nah, he a fall risk. Like, I could get fired if something happened to him, And also, who the fuck, nigga? I don't know you, and I just told you I'm engaged. I don't need friends that bad, bro. And he'd be like, no, it's cool. I'm gonna put a movie on. No, thanks, no thanks. And then the next day, we walk up behind you in the kitchen. All of a sudden, you backed up against the counter, and this person is here, and you're like, can I not? The bull rolled up on me while I was trying to leave, spooked me so bad, I spilt a commode full of like shit all over the bathroom floor because he startled me so
Should have
bad.
spilled it on him.
Listen, but I told my care manager, who was a woman, hey, I'm never going back here because that's my right as a worker to say I didn't feel safe. This bull pushed up on me all weekend. Absolutely fucking not. And then maybe a year or two later, she was like, oh, hey, you went to this case, right? They need somebody to fill in. And I said, you mean the bull who fucking pushed up on me and I didn't feel safe being there? I said I was never going back there. And she was like, oh yeah, but that was years ago.
Yeah. See, this is the stuff that a lot of women deal with. I'm gonna kick it back to Gina, but Dan Schneider actually spoke about these allegations after Quiet on Set came out, and I just want to play that real quick.
All right. When I watched the show, I could see the hurt in some people's eyes, and it made me feel awful and regretful and sorry. I wish I could go back, especially to those earlier years of my career, and bring the growth and the experience that I have now and just do a better job and never, ever feel like it was okay to be an asshole to anyone ever. And when Drake and I talked and he told me what had happened, I was more devastated by that than anything that ever happened to me in my career thus far. And I told him, I'm here for you. What do you need? Which Drake mentioned in the show that we watched last night. And next, I heard that he went to court when this guy was being tried, Peck. And when Drake walked in, he saw 50 people sitting on the side of the courtroom supporting Peck. A lot of them pretty famous. Of course, Drake was devastated that that happened. And even more disappointing, 41 of those people wrote letters for Peck, character letters, praising him for who he was and asking for leniency. And they knew that he was guilty. They knew he had confessed to some degree, and they still did this. That's baffling that adults would do that. Yeah. And I don't know if people know this, but Drake's mom, a lovely woman who I stay in contact with this day, she came to me at the time and she said, Dan, I'm not good with words like you are. And would you help me with my speech to the judge? And I said, of course. And I did. And he ended up going to prison and serving his time. And yeah, that was probably the darkest part of my career.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but
that
whole
yeah,
You're not a good actor.
No,
because that's the same way I act when I'm trying to get an upgrade on my toys with Zach, and he says no. I'm like, like that's the same thing I do, and I'm not an actress, so like I'm not buying his shit. Like that's not.
It's okay. I wanted to ask the entire panel: Is anybody buying the bullshit?
Not his, no.
Not his, no.
All right.
Kurt, I do have a.
Go ahead, Shaq.
I just want to speak on like those type of situations where someone in his situation tries to portray this role and starts having the gator tears. And myself being someone who was like the judge, jury, and executioner in somebody's case, like if you gonna make the shit, stand on it. Because all I'm gonna do is ask you to take a tissue and wipe that shit off as you exit.
I know that's right. Wipe your cheek on the way out. And I'm not talking about the one on your face because you're full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I just
like, that tear shit don't.
First off, how about not facilitate the situation in which the boy got abused?
Yeah.
The fact that you said I'm still talking to the mom and that she's a good person. No.
That line kind of like.
Yeah. No, Cat, go, please.
That line, like, I don't know, it didn't feel natural to be like, oh, I'm talking to his mom, who, by the way, is a really nice person. Like, I know we really didn't like hit on anything on the documentary, but I'm here to say she's really nice. Like, first of all, you're the wrong person to co-sign that. Like, why would you? I don't want you to say I'm a nice person because you are not even close to being a nice person. So don't, no. And then the way when he brought in the tears, it wasn't even on the right tone to bring it into. Because if you're going to fake tears, it's going to be like, I reached out to him to make sure that he was okay. Not that you helped write a letter for a mom who supposedly said you have better wording. Because even that he made it about himself.
Yeah.
Listen,
Exactly.
Gina told me about narcissists. Well,
I'm not good with words like you.
Yeah. It's still a way to big himself up and make him important. And what's wild to me, it sounds like two shitty people like, hey, we need to do this PR control. I'll co-sign you. Because you said, you see, Drake said it in the documentary. I helped out. No. Drake said a lot, but Drake also said some fuck shit was going on. Drake, I'm gonna let Gina get into it because, but Drake could not even describe his abuse, and that part right there is when I had to cut that shit off because let me tell you something. Whatever happened to that young man, I absolutely understand when you have to look someone in the face and say, what happened to me, I just can't talk about. But he said, think of all the terrible things you could do to a child sexually, which when you leave it to your imagination, what the fuck happened to that? And how is he even mentally able to do this show? Gina, go ahead, because I'm getting triggered now. God damn it.
We getting there. So this is unfortunately, Dan Schneider was not the only person with predatory behavior. Unfortunately, were people that were much worse than him. Jason Handy was a production assistant, and there was a young girl on the Amanda show by the name of Brandy. They did not ever say her last name, and I really have not been able to locate what her last name is.
I
But
forgot
I guess
about
that's
that part of the documentary. It really was a lot.
he began inserting himself into her life as a coach. So they had a lot of dialogue coaches and acting coaches. And the mother of this young woman permitted this man that you see on the screen to email back and forth with her daughter, which did not make sense to me at all. If we are handling business, you do not need to be directly emailing my child. Everything needs to go through me. That's how I feel about it. So one day, he emailed Brandy, and the email contained a picture of him masturbating, and he says, I'm thinking about you. So, of course, the little girl is upset. She goes crying into her room, and the mother said that she chose not to call the police.
Wild
I
behavior.
have an issue with the fact that this woman chose not to call the police. I do not understand in any world, through any type of reasoning, why you think that he is only doing this to your child and he's not doing it to any other children, and why you would not want to seek some type of justice for your child. She stated that, she was embarrassed and she thought people would think she was a bad mom. No, what makes you a bad mom is the fact that you did not reach out to the authorities. That's what makes you a bad mother. And that also, these are one of the parents that, when you said, well, do you think the parents knew what was going on? I don't know. She's one of the parents where I'm just questioning what was your real motivation behind not saying anything? Because she goes on to say that eventually she was contacted by the authorities. They reached out to her in reference to Jason Handy because he was arrested for being a child molester. So she never says anything, but the authorities end up contacting her anyway because they found 10,000 images of children in his possession. 1,768 images of young girls in erotic poses and 238 images of girls in sexually explicit situations. They also found plastic bags that had girls' names on it, and in the plastic bags there was tokens. So one of the plastic bags actually had Brandy's name on it, and in that bag was letters that they were writing back and forth between them. And they also stated that in some of the other plastic bags they found like a young girl's underwear. So this is the type of demon that he was. He also had journals stating that he was a pedophile, explicitly stating, I am a pedophile and I feel as if I am going to rape a child. So if he had not done it already, he was definitely working his way up to it slowly. For this, he got 6 years in prison. That's it.
How many?
10
So, Gina, I didn't know it was rape. I thought he was arrested on the pornography charges, and they found all that other stuff.
No, he didn't get arrested for raping. He was saying in his journal that his plan was to, at some point, rape.
Right. No, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, what were the definitive charges? I wanted to be sure because I thought it was just the child pornography.
It was just for the child pornography. But he's only, to me, 6 years for child pornography like that you have in your possession a child's underwear, you are stating that you're working your way up to actually assaulting a child. You do not need to be on the streets at all.
You don't need to be on no damn children's show.
So
how about that?
I hear y'all.
No, I was gonna say he
No,
did
go
have
ahead,
to
Tef.
register as a sex offender, but Nickelodeon's policy at the time was not to like do those in-depth background checks. It wasn't until like after,
which is wild. Which
it wasn't until like it wasn't until after what happened with Drake that they actually required those in-depth background checks. Because before you could have something spotty, because the bull Peck, the one who had hurt Drake, had like other accusations and stuff against him, and people were just kind of like, it was just kind of whatever because he was well known in Hollywood.
Well, Reva had a question. She said they started the investigation because he kissed that girl. Is that correct, Gina?
Yes. Yeah, that was the child molestation. Yes. He never actually raped anyone. He didn't get to that point, but he definitely was escalating. And a lot of times sexual offenders, they will escalate over time until they have their first victim.
Again, trigger warning. We are discussing Quiet on Set, and we will be talking in depth about sexual essay, grape. I hate saying grape. I think it's the dumbest shit ever. But strong, triggering conversations about pedophilia and abusers. But he wasn't the only one on set, right, G? He wasn't the only motherfucker, because
this is when we get into the Brian Peck of it all.
about to say you got the Avengers of
the Creek Club.
Could you break down this Creek Club? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm saying could you break down the Creek Club?
Well, I was like kind of going through them.
Okay.
So we got Dan, we got Jason. We're getting
we got about 20 minutes. That's why I want to kind of get to as many of them as possible, because people need to know who they are.
Brian Peck is the one who assaulted Drake. So you have Brian Peck, and Kyle Sullivan was on the Amanda Show and on all that. Okay. Because Sullivan says in the documentary that when they were visiting Brian Peck's house for the first time with other cast members and parents, the parents are there. Peck showed him a painting of John Wayne Gacy and revealed to everyone that he was friends with the serial killer. He shows them the letters, he shows them the photographs, that he's a pen pal. And, Kyle is like, listen, I'm 14. I don't know all the details, but I know that this guy is a fucking serial killer that killed a lot of young men and boys that like around my age. So I'm trying to figure out how the parents and everyone else that came into this knowledge just was like, yeah, this tracks, this is fine, this is okay. You're literally a pen pal with a serial killer, and I'm leaving my child with you.
And Peck was actually on the he was actually on the show as Pickle Boy.
Another phallic reference.
Like,
yeah.
Like, this is wild behavior to me.
He likes to hurt and tease Pickles. Nobody thought that stood out.
No,
wild and crazy.
This was a walking dick joke.
Yo, thank you.
Yeah.
There was a scene on the documentary where he takes the pickle and Ray Romano's in the other room and he sticks the pickle through the doorknob.
Glory hole.
Yeah, the glory, and it's a glory hole. Exactly, it's a glory hole reference, and I'm like, what?
Like nobody saw.
Nobody sees this at all.
The worst part is he got fired from Nickelodeon and took his ass right across the street. Huh?
Yeah, and got another job. 100%.
With Disney.
Yeah. He was fired though after they found out that he was
how the fuck he get hired?
How that part?
Lack of background checks.
Because his resume, remember, he got all these super
like
resume. He worked with Leonardo DiCaprio and James Marsden and a whole bunch of other names. So
Wait a minute,
They
Gina,
didn't-
talk about that because we got a list of motherfuckers that we got to call out for co-signing this nigga.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dan mentioned it in the clip that you showed. Eventually, when everything did come out and Drake did finally go to court, might I add, he goes to court because we're jumping over a lot of stuff, but he goes to court and his father is still unaware. His father is still unaware of anything that happened. And
wait,
he has the
I got to show a
supporters
picture
there.
of that. The only hero in this entire fucking story.
I just agree. The black mom.
I was gonna say the black mom too.
You're right. I'm talking about Drake's story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but go ahead.
As some of the parents really failed their kids in a huge way. Brandy's mom is one of them, in my opinion, and Drake's mom is the other one. When they walk in, but when they finally go to court, and he said he walked in and he sees the supporters. He said his side was full, and on my side it was only me, my mother, and my brother. On top of the fact that there was the 41 letters, and some of the people that you think are so wholesome because of their image wrote letters supporting this man. So you have like Alan Thicke and James Marsden and Ryder Strong writing letters, Joanna Kearns writing letters in support of this man. Now they can't claim later on they did not know, they did not understand what really was happening. But when you were approached to write the letter, did you not ask questions? What did they happen to tell you? What did they?
Well, you know what the wild thing is, and this is something that actually came out after the docuseries. Peck had gone to many of them and said that he was seduced by a temptress. He painted Drake. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ty.
I'm sorry, but like as an adult to say that like
a child,
adult seduced by a child, a non-adult,
Right.
and so you're saying you were seduced, so you are admitting you did the thing?
Yo, like
a
he was
child.
brazen. He was brazen with the shit to the point of actually telling people, yes, this jail bait. Literally saying, yes, I'm basically admitting I'm aware that this person is underage, is sexually seducing me, and I'm a victim of my feelings. What?
America, this is bullshit.
Everyone around Drake failed him, and I do say that the dad was a good guy, but there was a lot of things that I feel like when the dad said he noticed the birthday cards and the inappropriate birthday cards from all of Peck and his male friends. These are adult men giving your son cards, and why are they throwing a birthday party from him? Did he not have any children that were friends with him? Like some of the stuff just did not make sense.
I feel like the dad failed him for giving up, because that to me was
No. Bass made a very good point on the Unicorn Show. No, I agree. The man had to go through a divorce. The man had to go and battle to keep custody. The man was fought out. And
the divorce was before
hold
Drake
on.
got famous.
Well, hold on. Let me just say this. One thing that was so telling about what Drake said by the time Peck had integrated himself in his life, by the time it was Peck, his mom, the studio, and everybody else, he said it was an army against my dad. And as a father, not me being I put it like this. When your child is old enough to make decisions, if your child says, no, I don't want you to be my manager, you can keep fighting. But I think to save his relationship with his son, he said, if you're making...
But him giving up actually 100% led to what happened to him and did the most damage because of that.
How do you know? You can't telegraph that. You don't know if anything would have been any different had he fought.
So no, but I'm saying the facts are that because his dad says that. His dad says by stepping down as his manager, that ruined our relationship because Drake stopped talking to him.
Again, even if he kept talking to him, if he would have turned up the pressure and then had the same situation with the black kid. That ruined his. Okay, there was the opposite.
Yeah.
His mom was 1,000% involved and got him essentially fired off the show, and their relationship ended up getting ruined because he resented her. 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other. One keeps somebody from getting raped, though.
I was about to say.
That's what I was going to say. If I can interject, that is the difference, right? One thing you got, just having a disagreement is one thing. I don't. Sometimes you have to do things that are for your child's benefit, and at that point in time, they're going to hate you for it. But one day they will understand that it was for your good, for the greater good. I'm fighting because I do not want you to be sexually assaulted by a grown-ass man and your life be forever ruined.
Right. I don't want you to be irreparably damaged by my
Hold
dad.
on. Hold on. We are armchair quarterbacking. At that exact time, his father had inklings. Like they said, he was gaslit. He was even told he was a homophobe and had to back down. He had no hard proof to say definitively this guy is going to do this thing. I saw that. I wish my. I'm sorry. Let me calm down. What I'm saying is, I saw that man make all the effort within what he had to work with at that time. I am not going to sit here and indict him personally for what happened because he didn't have all the information. He had his feelings. His
I'm not saying he didn't do he did what he thought was right, what he thought would save his relationship with his child. I'm saying ultimately it led to it.
We'll have to disagree
directly
on that one
contributed to what happened.
because he could have been 100% involved, and then Peck could have just continued to drive a wedge. When a motherfucker is actively and maliciously trying to drive a wedge between him and the son, then he would have just found another avenue. If it wasn't his mother, he would have just did it. He was already saying that the father was stealing money from him.
But all of that came out to be false. Like the father was exonerated and then was like,
This
okay,
is after
fine,
the fact, after the abuse. This is after all these things
No,
happened.
it's- no, it's-
Meek, I saw you try to jump in there. Go ahead.
Because I think Leo said it best in Wolf of Wall Street. Money talks and bullshit takes the bus. I think Drake's dad did everything that he could do from the position that he was in, being up against the power that he was up against. There's only so much that you can do in that position. They not only discredited that man, they attempted to bankrupt that man. They literally stole that man's child from him, and the mother of his child helped.
And he was tired.
Hold on. Let's
her fault ultimately.
Right. I blame the now. Here's the thing: what that mother did ultimately, led to his abuse, in my opinion, because she's the motherfucker that stopped watching me. She was the one who took on the responsibility of he's now in my care, and then
the paycheck. She didn't
got
got
lazy
no
with it.
responsibility.
Now, LJ, you said that, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. LJ, what were you saying?
Oh no, you're fine. I could just tell and sense that while the dad was telling his story, he was tired. There comes a point in time sometimes, and despite your kids, me and Leah have been through some shit. And there have been times where there was no more fight that I could give for her. And I had to step back. And I'm not, I've been fortunate enough to where there were some successes and there were some failures on my part. And we're good because but he was so tired. They beat that man to where he had no choice. And it just sucks. Ultimately, the whole thing just sucks because you could tell that when he found out that if he could have killed somebody, he was about,
Yeah.
He could have killed the mother.
And
He was going off somebody.
A white man is still on the table.
Go ahead, Roxy. Go ahead, Roxy.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought about was the fact that he warned his wife or his ex-wife, look out for this man because I don't trust him around our son.
Right.
And he paid attention to the different ways that he even touched his son's arm. It was a lot of different things that stood out, even down to every time we go somewhere, he was right there. He had a concert, he was right there. So he already was invested in noticing that there was something very wrong with this picture. So even when they separated, he tried to warn his wife. Listen, watch him. I don't trust what's going on. And that was that.
Yo, shout out to Dribble the Swordsman for the raid over there on Twitch. Much love.
Shout out to the fam, Dribble. I see you, homie.
We appreciate that love. And to Roxy's point, I again, to the parents, when you're co-parenting, even if you know that co-parent isn't as good as you, once that child leaves your care, there ain't much more you can do. I mean, respectfully, tell me if I'm reading that wrong, because even if they're not going to take care of your child the way you take care of your child, but you got to have some level of trust that they're going to at least do the bare fucking minimum, right?
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It's the fact that even though his relationship with his wife was strained, he still tried to have a civil conversation with her about the safety of his son. Look, I know me and you don't get along, but look after our baby.
Yeah.
And she did not.
Listen, to that point, Gina, please, what Antonio just said, can we get into how that shit came, the culmination of that?
Well, Drake, obviously, he was continuing to be assaulted. His mother continued to ignore the signs. I don't know how. And so this is where I speculate that she had some kind of knowledge as to what was going on, in my opinion, and chose to turn a blind eye because it was convenient for her.
Oh, you think she knew and just keep the chicks coming? I'm gonna shut the fuck up.
I was saying she was spending that money.
What grown-ass man keeps taking your son to Disney World? I'm just saying. Like,
keep your son overnight for days at a fucking time.
It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. What was Drake's last name?
Bell.
Yeah. So he goes on to have a girlfriend, and he's saying how he's at the girlfriend's house one day, and they were supposed to go to Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
And he's ducking them. So he's like calling them back to back, like an angry girlfriend. Where you at, nigga? Where you at? Where you at? Why you ain't picking up the phone? We got plans. And the mother is alerted because why is this grown ass man calling you like this? Because it really does come across as a jealous, angry girlfriend. She takes him and pulls him aside and says, basically, what the fuck is going on? I know something is not right. What's going on? He does not fully confess, but does say, listen, this man is doing some things that are making me uncomfortable. And I give her so much credit because a lot of people would be afraid to question someone's parenting or intervene in the way that they raise their child. But she called his mother and said, listen, I am taking him to a therapist. He needs to be in therapy. Something is going on. I don't know what it is, but we need to get to the bottom of it. Unfortunately, when he went to therapy, he did not feel comfortable fully opening up and divulging what was happening to him. But that woman was the first, not the first adult, his dad would be the first, but probably the second adult that actually had some common sense and said, you know what, I need to look out for this child. I need to make sure that he is safe. And this is why I say that the mother did have some type of knowledge, because even once he was in therapy, he still did not fully get away from Peck. No. And that has something to do with that mother. So I do think she was invested in getting the money, isolating the father and having access to the funds, in my opinion. And he hadn't even started his show yet. He hadn't even started the show yet.
To call that boy and be like, why wasn't you answering my calls? What?
He called the girlfriend's house.
Yeah, called the like that. That to me, that is so brazen.
That was his boyfriend in his head, because he had access to him whenever he wanted to. Mm-hmm. He had access to him whenever he wanted to. Disney World, that's their date. He come and spend the night. This is how he's operating with him, and he was allowed to.
The fact that somebody else had to step in and parent your kid.
That
right.
part.
That lets you know how vulnerable he was.
That the only reason why you said something was the embarrassment of another mother noticing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if she say something first and I don't look like an advocate, that look bad on me.
Right.
Who's Fifi Dobson? Darius said it's Fifi Dobson's.
She is a Black Canadian punk rock singer.
I love
One of my
that.
favorites.
Yeah.
A
So
black mom stood up for him.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Right.
Black mom. Listen, black people. Listen. We got our things about SA too, but black moms, when they on point, they are on point. Boy, what's wrong? I know that look in your face. Let me talk to you. And the fact that she used the discretion to pull him aside and away from everybody else to kind of get him open to talking. Florida recently changed the laws to allow the death penalty to apply to sex offenders.
That apply in Texas too if you're on the right back road.
Bars.
In some parts of Delco, you fuck around and find out.
You know what? I ain't got nothing else to say. Gina, please continue. I got no follow up to that one, baby, because I'm with it.
I mean, the sad part is how it impacted Drake overall in his life, right? In 2021, he pled guilty to a felony charge of attempted child endangerment and a misdemeanor charge of disseminating manner harmful to juveniles related to inappropriate text messages between himself and a teenage girl in 2017. So he was sentenced to 2 years of probation and 200 hours of community service. During the sentencing hearing, the victim called Drake the epitome of evil and accused the actor of grooming that began when she was 12, before he allegedly actually abused her at 15. She said he was calculating, he preyed on me and sexually abused me. He sent pictures of his genitals. She said that he is a monster and a danger to children.
Oh, wait, you talking about Drake?
Yes, yes.
This is the girl that Drake ended up abusing,
assaulting,
right?
Yes, yes. So unfortunately, a lot of people who are sexually abused, not all, but a lot, grow up and they just repeat that cycle of abuse. Unfortunately, I think that he probably was caught before he really went too far.
I think he went too far already.
Yeah, he's getting help. He's getting help. He is in therapy. He is getting substance abuse help. But most people who abuse children were abused children at some point in time. And so
Gina, I appreciate the compassion in which you're handling this, but I'm gonna just say it like I said for Dan Schneider. Just because it happened to you does not mean you get to turn around and become the fucking monster that preyed on you.
Right.
And not to excuse his behavior, but he was also abusing drugs and alcohol a lot of that time as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course, because how do you process this? How do you live every day with this? How do you deal with the flashbacks? How do you deal with the way it makes you feel about your own body and your
do it without touching other children. That's how you
his mother failed him. They got that conviction and then didn't put that boy back in another day of therapy. Like he needed help. And then they were just like, oh, well, your predator got convicted. It's okay now. You gotta go back to work anyway and keep making dollars for mom.
Some people don't get the benefit of their predator getting convicted. You fucking tough it up and you don't touch other children.
People aren't mentally built like that. Not the toughen up part. Or it's towards the toughen up part. Like some people aren't built that way.
Right.
So
I respect that, but not to the point where you allow your weaknesses to abuse other children.
A lot of people who are sexually assaulted end up with a vengeance mindset that it happened to me and nobody saved or protected me, so it needs to happen to somebody else.
Right. And that's not to excuse what he did, but
Right. It's just the psychology of the situation is that they get into the mindset that nobody saved me from being hurt, so who's going to save somebody else if I do it?
So why should anybody save you?
Well, I like to meet him on that back road.
So none of it is to excuse anyone.
No.
But there is a psychology behind it because you wonder how do people get to be that type of monster in the first place. That it is at the hands of abuse. Okay, so to say toughen up and don't abuse another child, unfortunately, the way everyone who's sexually abused reacts to it differently. Everyone is not the same. Some people become very frigid, and then some people become hypersexualized. They don't have
And my toughen up
boundaries, and they're
isn't for
very
them.
promiscuous.
My
Everyone does
toughen
not.
up isn't for them. It is for the people who would repeat the cycle of abuse to another child.
But it doesn't work. It's not that simple. Some things are black
Look
and
at the
white, and some
history
things
of
are not.
most serial killers, Kurt.
And psychology is not black and white. So you cannot
I
predict
agree.
At all.
You cannot predict.
No. And what you're saying and the way you're talking, y'all are not wrong. I have very strong feelings about
Understand.
predatory behavior towards children. And toughen up is not the right wording to use with other people who are dealing with abuse. When it comes to pedophiles, I just personally have that hard stance that I don't give a fuck what you do. Drugs, yes. Go smoke crack. Do alcohol. Go drink yourself under the fucking table. Destroy yourself before you destroy another child.
So a large responsibility falls onto the parents of children that are sexually assaulted. If and when you find yourself in that situation with your child, it is a huge responsibility of yours to make sure that your child gets all the interventions that you can give them.
That.
You have to bombard them with a lot of therapy. That is how you can possibly prevent them from growing up and
becoming
hurting
abusers
someone.
themselves.
Yeah,
I grew up in a Southern household in the teachings that what happens in this house stays in this house. It took me being a grown ass woman and going to school for psychology to realize that some of the things that were wrong with me or broken in me were because of the abuse that I suffered as a child.
The whole don't tell the business of this house.
Exactly. What happens in this house is supposed to stay in this house. Quit telling people what went on behind my doors.
Right. Don't tell people my business, but I can tell people your business.
So I grew up a long time thinking something was wrong with me, that I was born broken, that there was something wrong with my brain chemistry, or that I was a fucked up individual. And it took literally going to school for psychology because no one would get me therapy. No one would get me the psychological help that I needed. Like, it took me going to school to become a psychologist to realize why I can drink my body weight in alcohol. Or to realize why I've been hypersexual since I was 13, thinking it's me. So I understand, again, not to excuse it, because just like you said, there's absolutely no way in hell I would allow what happened to me to happen to another child. I'll fight grown-ass men. I'll fight your mama too.
Right.
Behind these babies is, if your child is ever in my presence, your child is safe.
And
let something happen to them.
And to that point, for those that have been abused and that are fighting those urges, I appreciate and I have empathy for you to have to fight those urges, but keep fucking fighting, please, because again, you don't stop this particular problem until you stop the trauma at the core. Because once you abuse another child, you just reset the cycle for it to continue. And it's with much of all the traumas that we deal with, and not only the Hispanic and Black communities, because a lot of times we say, well, Black food. No, listen, that in Asian families, it's exact. You better not say something outside this fucking house. You
marry their babies off.
What is it? A choco?
Oh
yeah, you get one of them slippers thrown at your fucking head. You out here wanting to tell our business in here in mi casa. I don't know if that was racist, but you get what I mean. God damn it!
I'll allow it.
Look, I'm good then. So,
nah, nigga, that was a little racist.
Damn it, you listen. Only 50% of you can check me. All right, so
That was racist within
That was
itself.
racist. To say that. That was officially racist.
But I feel 100% of it.
I love you still. But G, I know we got about maybe 25 minutes left of this, and we're rounding up what happened with Peck. Poor Drake. I don't want to say. Yes, I'll say that. Poor Drake. Honestly, in watching him, did anybody see? I just wanted in that interview. Is it only me? But that pain in his face and his body mannerisms, it was palpable.
Body language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Baby was still a child in his mind.
Oh,
yeah.
Gina, what you saying? When you abuse, you stop maturing.
It's like arrested development. Like you stop.
I'm sure he was having flashbacks. I'm sure he was.
Your cognitive development stops at the point at which you were abused. You never grow up mentally from that. You're always that scared child.
That's fucking wild to me. Because I mean, just to be transparent, I was abused at 7 years old. I consider myself I am a functioning adult, but I am 1000% a big ass kid. Like I'm 40.
That's what they were saying about Dan Schneider. That's what they believe happened to him because
wait,
his
you
mentality.
See where I'm going with it, right?
Yeah, his mentality was of like a 13-year-old, 12 child. They're like, oh well, that's how he knows what kids like because that's where his mind was.
Because he probably was abused.
Well, most people when they experience trauma, like emotionally, they are stunted at that age, so they don't really. If you be like, why are these grown ass men so they just emotionally young? They don't know how to act like an adult. A lot of people are traumatized and they can't progress past that age. It's just the way it works. Until you go deal with it, you have to go and deal with it. If you don't deal with it, you're forever going to be stuck there.
It's very hard the older you get.
Kurt, I think the reason why you end up with fucked up individuals like us is because we're forced to grow up at a young age. So I was not only forced to internalize my trauma, but also be a grown ass woman at 11, 12, 13 years old. I was never allowed to be a child, so I don't have a child's mentality. Like you said, I'm absolutely childish. But at the end of the day, I'm a grown woman that's got shit to do and things to get done because I've been raising kids since I was a kid.
That's fucking wild.
Well, as much in the way that you could be a functional alcoholic, right? You're functioning,
absolutely
living every day, but
I'm definitely. I got all the goddamn symptoms. I'm hypersexual. I could definitely drink I'll drink a motherfucker under the table. I ain't know it was all. I knew I was fucked up, but I didn't know. Like, and I joke about it in my comedy and in my life because you don't really because. Cat, I mean, when I say I resonate in the 80s and 90s, this shit was when I said toughen up, that is literally some shit out of the 80s and 90s.
To us, yeah.
Stand up, chest out, nigga.
Yeah, and I mean, for it's a lot. It's a lot because I know we're short on time, but I want to double back real quick on something.
Now. We in it. We in the shit.
Drake's dad, about the fighting hard enough type of thing. I get where everybody's coming from. Like he should have fought harder. Like I get that, but even in the early 2000s, like you have to kind of remove yourself from the present time and put yourself in that moment, because I met my biological father in early 2000s. I was pregnant with my second child, and I said to him, I said, you know, my mother was crazy. You know, she was abusive. Why didn't you fight for me? And he literally looked at me and said, you think I didn't try to fight? The court systems were against me. Her sisters would have written letters. I would be thrown in jail for the things that were not true. So, you know, none of us can officially say, you know, what was said outside of what he told in the documentary, but they literally built this wedge between Drake, and they even told Drake, like, your dad's out to ruin your career. And this is something that he's always wanted, if I remember it correctly. So I get that, you know, exactly. So that part of it is kind of like, and then I know this is gonna sound funny, but you kind of triggered me with the whole toughen up type of thing because, I battled depression when I was 12. That's 80, 88, 89, 99 in that area. And I was told, you're just showing off. You just want attention. Toughen up and do the things that you need to do. Stop thinking that you're sad. You're not sad. You're living in the lap of luxury is what I was told, so a lot of that, it's a lot.
No, I was told not to cry. I literally was the not allowed to cry growing up.
My mother told me at one point, what's the point in crying? It don't make shit better.
Yeah.
And to Kat,
I was.
I'm sorry, I triggered. I just want to say, no. I want to say that I am so sorry for triggering you. That was not my intention.
That's why I was like, some of us aren't built like that.
Listen, and that's where being checked comes in, and being.
And some of us are, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Foxy Rock. I didn't mean to
toughening up.
I didn't want to cut you off.
Exactly.
No, it's all right. For me, I was just told to go away a lot, and so. It was just me and my sister, but my sister had left when she was 16, but I was always told to go away and no one's talking to you and you're around grown folks. And so as I've gotten older, I've started being a person that was used to being alone and I got used to being away. So if there was an idea I would present or certain things I would talk about with family or, whomever, and it wasn't received, I took it as my cue to go away. So, and that's something today I'm still working on. And it takes time. And, you try to talk it out. You talk it out with whomever you can, or everything that you need to talk about turns into an emotion, and you never really get a chance to. So, yeah, that's a lot of work.
Carolyn said, think about it. If they filed a homophobic complaint on Drake's dad at Nickelodeon, he would have been separated from Drake regardless. To Kat's point, and I just want to say this, one of the most telling things that ever happened to me was I actually had that conversation with my father. Same thing. I said, yo, you knew what was going on. I came and told you, you believe me. Why didn't you come get me? Not only did I not know that he called Child Protective Services, he had to remind me about how I was coached to lie. To protect, I'm not going to go get into who I was protecting, but he had to be like, what are you talking about? They got to you. And he pulled out this bag and he said, when you're ready, you go in this bag. He passed away. And I never forget cleaning out his house and seeing the bag and finally having the opportunity to go through it. It was his journal of when he was in Alcoholics Anonymous, and he documented his entire experience and feelings of betrayal because he couldn't protect me, and all the court documents of him trying to gain custody of me. And that's a tough thing to imagine as a child, but even more so when I saw Drake's father. I saw my dad. When I saw Drake, I saw myself. And that is the only reason why we're even doing this tonight, because shit like that happens to so many of us, and we never have an outlet or an opportunity to talk about any of that. And for it to happen in a space and place that we all thought were safe as children, who didn't think being at Nickelodeon wasn't the best place ever. I mean, Disney, I'm an 80s baby, so going to Disney World was the thing. And then Nickelodeon came, and that was the Mecca. Look how many of us on this panel actually applied to either be on the show or be a part of it, or even watched it every single day and allowed it to form and shape our minds. But in that, there was nothing but predators adjacent and directly involved in a lot of our favorite things. So I say all that to say, protect your kids.
Yeah.
As best as you can. I pulled that together. I almost cracked when nigga G. All right. Whew. Gina, is there any is there any more to the rest? Because I know you had a lot, and I don't want to gloss over it.
Like we really don't, because I kind of I extended further past the show and got into the discussion about Jeanette McCurdys, and what she went through, working with Dan and Nickelodeon, and the fact that she almost was like a perfect victim because she already had an abusive mother. So she was already a child that was living with abuse every day. So to put her into that environment was the perfect storm. She was going to accept the abuse because her mother didn't care. Her mother didn't care at all.
Yeah.
Right. She had to ultimately save herself, and her mother died. How she was speaking on the
it's
fact
this
that
young lady, right?
Jeanette McCurdys from Sam and
All
King.
right, thank you. Yeah, I was in my head. I was like, which one is she talking about?
Yeah.
But she wrote this book that kind of aired out Dan, right?
So she didn't name him by name.
She called him the creator, but it was very obvious that she was. I mean, you have her work is on television. You only need to read what she's saying in the book, and then have a frame of reference against the shows she's been on. That it obviously was Dan that she was describing being abusive on a set, and that the girls were sexualized, and also she was detailing the abuse of her mother, and that her mother would be yelling and screaming on set at her, and no one intervened. So they were okay with the mother abusing her, and then you have Dan that was abusing her on the flip side. And actually kind of doing a triangulation thing that narcissists do with her and Arianna Grande, where Arianna was the golden child, very much like Amanda was at one point in time. And so Arianna was allowed to do certain things that Jeanette did not have the benefit of doing. And of course, conveniently, Arianna is not speaking on anything. But if you look at how Arianna lives her life, she very much is still childlike in her behaviors. She's very hypersexualized while still carrying this childlike facade, which is very cringy to me. I've always thought it was cringy.
She plays up the little innocent like type aesthetic, and
she's
stuff
a Barbie
like that.
doll.
Yeah.
Even in a cosplay community, like there's some girls that like have a very petite frame, and they really play up this childlike image while also being very hypersexualized, that I find absolutely
because it feeds into
it sells.
Well,
it
because
feeds
who else
into that
who do you really think is giving them money? It's not men that like women that look like women.
And,
it is
and I know we say we don't kink shame, but women, those that enjoy role playing as littles, which is basically taking on the role of children during sexual fantasies, that is for me, that ain't my cup of tea personally. But like
So
Gina said,
I think there's a difference between littles and age regression.
Yeah.
Okay, am I getting the two confused?
Age play is different. Age play is where they have a specific age that they regress to, and the person that they are sexually involved with is completely accepting.
Like putting on diapers and
a 4-year-old while I play with you.
Well, also not everybody who engages in age play or is a little does it in a sexual manner.
A lot of it is non-sexual. They want to regress to that age where they felt safe.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. And I stand corrected, and I appreciate that, because it's those that emulate children for the sexual gratification of whomever they're enjoying it with that I have a problem.
People.
That's
there are people who do like to have sex in that manner as well too. So
And
I mean,
that's
it's on both sides, unfortunately.
Lord in heaven, Father.
Well, I will say.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say that I hope that if nothing else, because none of this shocked me. I wasn't shocked by any of it. To me, it was a lot of it I knew already. And like I said earlier, this country was built on slavery and pedophilia. Nothing is new under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
This is skimming the surface. The reason why is able to be so prevalent is because so many people in positions of power actually, this is what they like, this is what they engage in, and this is how they get away with it because they have the money and the connections to be able to do so in the shadows, until somebody finally can break through that chain. But it's really hard, and people are going to have to learn how to have the difficult conversations with their children. You cannot be afraid to talk about it. You cannot start too early at all. Like I said in the chat, me and my son watched episode 3 specifically together and then had a conversation, but we always have conversations about it. And the most important thing to relay to your children is not just, oh, beware of strangers, because the strangers are not the one that they need to look out for. You need to be able to say to them, even if it's your father, even if it's your mother, if it's your sister, your brother, your uncles, your because I know a lot of people that were molested by their grandfather, or their cousins.
The one uncle you're not supposed to be left alone with.
Right.
Or your
And
dad.
why is the uncle still invited to the cookout?
Yeah.
But people don't
real quick,
have that conversation.
I got to make a correction. I showed the wrong picture for Noseboy. Thank you, C Murder. This is Noseboy grown up, not the picture that I used.
There you go.
Yeah. I was showing the wrong picture.
Yeah.
That was the 2 headband ball with the black mom.
Yeah, I hate that headband.
Yeah, and I just want to say Amanda Bynes is literally a poster child for what happens when you grow up with affluence, abuse, and when predators get so far into your life that you have to then process it as an adult, because they don't want you once you're old enough. Right. That's the craziest part.
It's sad that puberty is what saved a lot of these kids.
That's wild. That's a bar and a wild statement to make, because that's so true.
But saved is such a odd way of putting it, because so many of them spiral out because they weren't necessarily saved; they were discarded, which is traumatizing in and of itself.
Because now there's rejection,
right?
Because now what's wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
That's there's so much. Typically we do a 3-hour show. This is a heavy show, so I wanted to kind of not do a 3-hour show. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give people the opportunity that if they want to wind down, because it is heavy and it is a lot, and they have to leave, please, by all means, it's all good. Just let me know, and I'll definitely let you shout out your platforms and whatnot if you got to double out. If you want to stay on for a little bit more of the ride, because it's not much left. I just wanted to touch on finally how some of these black actors and young actresses were treated by Nickelodeon. And to Gina's point, I need y'all. I saw this today, and I said, "You goddamn right. It's not just Nickelodeon. Mm-hmm. Please don't think it's just Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's not. It's not.
Like, just think about Disney, Kurt, and like a lot of those what you call it, the white girl that was on That's So Raven, like she's literally on TikTok hinting at once her NDA closes and is done that she's going to spill the beans on everything.
Shiv, thank you for bringing that up. Orlando Brown.
Yeah.
Orlando, you not gonna tell me
something happened to that baby?
Something definitely did happen.
Oh yeah.
Come on, y'all.
And then Natalie Nunn has been capitalizing on that just as well.
I'm about to get it. No, let's go back. Come on, because that's why I hope cats stick around. Different strokes. Come on.
For all 3 of them. All 3 of them. Like, I know it sounds crazy to be like, oh, but it's just 3. Like, sometimes it's just one person out of a whole entire cast. Sometimes is like the side characters out of a cast. But for all 3 of them to go down the same rabbit hole,
come on,
and not make it out, like,
what killed me about Different Strokes is there's an episode about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, you played in them kids' faces.
Yeah, Mr. Drummond definitely He was.
There's an episode where him and his little friend go, and the dude is taking videos and pictures of them and stuff.
That episode is what prompted me to say something.
You played with them kids' trauma in their face.
Webster, and I mean, even though he had a more, I don't want to say normal, but the point these child actors and actresses have been spiraling. Corey Haim and the Coreys.
Ben said it. The Corey's Ben said it.
What's Joaquin Phoenix's brother's name?
River.
Thank River Phoenix. Oh. Look, y'all.
Think about Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore was drinking and smoking cigarettes, and
her parents used to encourage it.
And
her parents used to take her to the club, and she was doing crack. I think it was at 10 or 12, something like that.
Yeah,
and she was dancing with grown men at parties at 8 and 9 years old.
I'm waiting for this docuseries. What the fuck happened to Jet Jackson for real?
Yeah,
he took his life.
Mm-hmm.
He was a victim of suicide, and it was there another word. A victim of unalive. I feel like an asshole saying that like that. You get what I mean?
Unalivement.
Self-deletion. Say it again.
Self-deletion, self-unalivement.
I'm not doing that. I'm just God damn it. I am. I
Take your Zol off before you Zol off yourself.
Tiffany, I almost dropped you from the speed. Get the you are a terrible person. Yo, that's
heavy. I had to make a joke. I'm sorry.
I know. It's just this shit is wild. And let's not just go to the shows. Music. Aaliyah was not of age. Beyonce was not of age. And I'm not gonna get into the who's, the what's, the whys, and the wins.
Marcus Houston's wife.
Listen, Marcus Houston, Amarion, that boy.
Most of B2K.
But I feel like he another one of them niggas who went through Diddy's grindhouse.
I look at Usher.
He said self-backspacing. I hate you, Antonio.
Yes.
You're not
Listen, the industry is not safe for an adult, let alone a child. So you have to be very vigilant if you're going.
These gymnasts.
Oh, oh my God,
that
documentary too.
Could you imagine being all these little girls in tight fitting leotards is a predator's? I ain't gonna say what it is. Thank you, Shaq.
Well, they purposely insert themselves into places where they're going to have positions of power with children. This is why everything was so prevalent in the Catholic Church. Right. You know, they seek it out. There's some people that being the trash that they are.
And then you figure.
Sorry, LJ, you had something to say?
Oh no, I was just saying that when we were talking about music, it triggered a video that I had even seen of Justin Bieber getting upset over why he's so protective over Billie Eilish, and how he's trying to just keep her, just do as much as he can for her. So it was just triggered a thought.
Yeah, no, Ezra Miller
compilation video of all the things he went through, even like in public, like on award shows, like as he's getting the awards, people are like hugging up and touching him. And then
didn't his parents send him to live at Usher's house for a while or some shit like that?
There's no way Usher was that close to Diddy, and Diddy didn't touch that little boy.
Sent him to Diddy house.
That's insane.
Because technically Usher was the one that discovered him.
Yeah, listen, y'all. These cycles are look, and I'm gonna give you the. Bieber went to Bieber went to Usher's. Usher's went to Diddy. Diddy was at Clive's. Yeah, and I don't know who was touching on Clive, but look, God, this shit is again. That's why I'm so animate about the cycle. The cycle. That cycle just resets every single solitary time a child is touched, and God forbid they perpetuate the cycle. And the sad part is success just looks like I didn't touch a child. Even for me, like you know how when men say I take care of my kids, and it's like, well, that's what you're supposed to be fucking doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, it's never a badge of honor to be like, well, I ain't never touched no kids. Well, you're not supposed to be touching no
You're
fucking
not
kids.
supposed to.
Sir, the bar is in hell.
Yeah, thank you. That's heavy. That when you set the bar, like, no, these child actors and these kids and then music. Let kids be kids, please, for the love of God. Let these kids be kids.
The parents,
Elvis had two movies come out where they romanticize him marrying his 13-year-old first cousin. Like, what the fuck?
Who was the dude before him? Because they blame Chuck Berry when he took them white girls across state lines. But dude,
Chuck Berry wasn't
and
the first
married
one
his
to do it.
cousin at 13.
Well, which one? Because Elvis did it.
Woody Allen.
Which one?
Woody Allen was on the same type time.
He married his
But
stepdaughter.
in a lot of
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gina.
in a lot of places, it wasn't against the law. So
Jerry
that
something.
shows
Jerry
you
Lewis.
how accepted pedophilia was because it wasn't against the law. If you had
Yeah.
permission, from the
And
parents.
shout out to the person at the top of the show who mentioned it. But the creator of Ren and Stimpy had a 16-year-old live-in girlfriend, and nobody said anything.
And Rick and Morty.
Yeah, Justin Roiland.
Again.
I think it was the guy in Bob's Burgers, the Jimmy Pesto. Can I say something real quick? And it goes all the way back to Betty Boop. She was 16, is what that character age
portrayed as.
16, doing boop boop doo, and then cigarettes and all this other stuff, selling it to men and getting slapped in the butt and all that stuff. Yeah, Betty Boop.
Betty Boop is based on a black girl.
Yo,
Back then, she was a grown woman at 16. You got to earn your keep.
Facts.
Without a wife, without a husband and kids at 16.
Somebody's wife.
The audacity.
Right.
A lot of kids are prostituted by their parents, essentially. They put them in the industry so that they can make money and they can live off of the money. And so they don't even really have a choice. Sometimes it's not the children that actually want to be in entertainment, but the parents look at them with dollar signs on their back, and they're okay with whatever their child has to endure so that they can live a soft life.
That's like Macaulay Culkin's parents.
Right. Or the Olsen twins.
Yeah.
And
So-
I've seen it in the theater just as well, like plays and musicals. Like in the theater world, it's even worse there.
I'm gonna say this, and you know what the sad part is? The media ain't no better, because when these children act out from lack of mental and emotional support, therapy, and whatnot, they sensationalize them. Bad boys, and there they go. And what do we do as the public? We don't say, well, what's the root cause of this behavior? We say, oh, they just fucking up. Right?
Well, a lot of
Amanda
times
Bynes.
well, it'd be like, where's the parents? And then the parents come in and make it fucking worse, which is crazy.
Who Lindsay Lohan, that's who I was thinking of. Lindsay Lohan was a poster child for it's a lot. It's a lot, y'all.
It's a lot.
And it's a
Well, they were
shame.
letting the kids on Victoria's drink on set. Victoria's was
The
doing
kids
the whole
from
show.
Ned's Declassified were having orgies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they by the way, fuck them for laughing at Drake
Going live.
All
and-
of them.
Going
Each and
live
every
and
one.
joking about
No,
that.
fuck them.
I didn't know about the
Royally.
orgies thing, but
Yeah.
they've been problematic for a minute, and because the girl says crazy shit every now and again.
Well, she said she was sucking their dicks in the
Ned, I was gonna say Ned said he got his first blowjob on the set at 13 from a
I
girl.
don't know that, but
not
yeah.
even realizing.
Bro, and who taught her to do that? Like, miss, get some
Right.
fucking help.
Yeah.
Some grown
But that's
person
like-
told her it would advance her career.
That's why you gotta watch
Probably.
your kids too. A lot of
That's how
people
you
bring
make
their-
yourself indispensable in the industry.
Yeah.
People bring their kids over and you let the kids go upstairs and play and you don't check on them and they
Yeah.
behind a closed door.
I
You
ain't
gotta
gonna
watch
front.
other
That's-
people's kids because I know for a fact there's a lot of people who's there want somebody's kid molested the other person's kid
Yeah.
and their children. So
don't-
you
They
can't
don't
even
even know.
you can't
No,
even
it's worse when they know.
your kid.
There are parents that know that their child is a risk, is a hazard, that their child is doing these things to other kids. And they still let their kids go on play dates and spend the night and everything.
I will punch
Because
a
they don't want
kid
to
in the
admit that there's
face.
something wrong and that they need to address why their child is doing it in the first place, or they may know why they're doing it.
Hold your babies tight.
Yeah.
A lot of parents don't want to acknowledge that the reason their kid is like that is because they dropped the ball as a parent and let something happen to their kid.
Facts. And you know, to that point, I think that a lot of times these young children, especially in an entertainment talent, and almost they are groomed because it's not a child's natural inclination. Yeah, curiosity is always going to be there, but the sexual acts that they engage in, be careful with your adult materials. Be careful with what you allow your children to assimilate into their minds and what you do in front of them. Because remember, the toxic advice back in the day was get some pussy as young as you can get it.
So I will say from the psychological aspect of that, children are, there's not a way to word that without it sounding bad. Children are sexually curious. It is the point when your child knows that sexuality pleases another person. The fact that your child at a young age or at that age, once they learn that act pleases another person, you fucked up. And as a child, your first mindset is to make an adult happy. So the fact that you put your child in a position to know that whatever sexual act they are curious about engaging in or whatever pleases an adult, and that they can use that act to make an adult happy, is where you fucked up as a parent. Teach your child that there is nothing wrong with their body, that there is nothing wrong with their sexuality, but that is private, that is not used as something to garner attention or the acceptance of a grown-ass person.
You know, I mean, we did a Tubi Tuesday, and they had an essay scene where a man said to a young boy, well, hey, I take care of your mom, and you're in this house. I want this thing from you. I'll pay you, and I won't kick you and your mama out. And it was crazy, and I totally hate the movie because of this particular scene. But they showed the child pause, and you think innocence would take over, and he'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. He pauses, thinks about the money, and then he's like, I'm with it.
Innocence is actually quite the opposite. I don't want nothing to happen to my mommy.
Right.
And if what I can do can stop something bad from happening to my mom, to my household, to my sense of normalcy, I'll do that thing. Not only that, but children look for the acceptance of the adults in their lives. So if the adult in your life is telling you this is what will make me happy, kids will do it without question. Because that makes me mommy's favorite, daddy's favorite, grandpa's favorite. It gives me the love and the attention that I'm seeking.
Go ahead, Tev. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, because at that point he might feel like, oh well, I'm the man of the house, and this is what I have to do to like step up and like do that thing. Or my mom does it, so I should do it too. That's just what that means.
Okay, this is now beyond triggering for me. What we're gonna do is, hey, this Sunday there's a new episode of Quiet on Set coming out again. This was episode 284. It's Too Quiet on Set. HNIC delving deep into the dark underbelly of child entertainment within the Nickelodeon studios. Gina, is there anything else a part of what we went over, talked about that's pertinent before we close out?
Essentially, that was everything.
Well, I want to know your closing thoughts on this entire thing, like the entire situation and the continuation that there's going to be more episodes.
Honestly, they could do 20 more episodes because there are so many stories in Hollywood. It's not just is not just resigned to Nickelodeon. It's on a much larger scale. Ultimately, it's about breaking generational curses, right? Our grandparents and our parents, they were not emotionally educated, right? They a lot of times they were not allowed to express their feelings. Um, I think maybe it was Meek that said, what happens in my house stays in my house, and that's the way it is. That's what they were taught. It is only now that we are coming into a generation where we are having these conversations that typically would be done behind closed doors or not discussed at all. And we are taking away the stigma behind it. And in us having conversations like these, there is somebody out there, and it may only be one person who sees this and is going to let them know that they are not alone, that other people have experienced this, and perhaps give them the voice to speak up and out about it. So we just need to continue these things in our homes, have the conversations, definitely encourage therapy when and if needed, and work on ourselves. If you have experienced trauma at any point in your life, therapy is uncomfortable. I'm not going to say that you go to therapy and right away you're better. It gets worse before it gets better, because you have to unpack a lot of things, but sometimes you have to fall apart to come back together in a better way, in a better whole way. So a lot of us are functioning, and I'm speaking as somebody who's in therapy and unpacking and put myself back together constantly.
Right.
A lot of us we are going through things, we are going through traumas, and we just want to stop as soon as we feel the discomfort, but you have to push through it. It's better on the other side of it. You'll identify your triggers, and you'll notice that your interpersonal relationships will improve, because a lot of the problems that we have with people is because we default to toxic things
Right.
that are ingrained in us. So I just encourage therapy to anybody who has experienced the trauma.
All right.
It'll benefit you.
Yeah. I want to go to each person on the panel and get your final thoughts and close out the show. I'm gonna go to Kat. Talk to me. This episode, talking about so much and knowing that there's more episodes to come. Are you going to keep watching?
Unfortunately, I am going to keep watching, because one, it's their stories, and they're brave enough, just like somebody had said earlier. I feel the same way. We're all brave in our own ways for putting ourselves out there, for speaking our truths and hearing everybody else's truths. So yeah, I'm gonna support I hate calling them victims.
Survivors.
Thank you. The survivors. I'm going to support them because they sat down and told their story. So I should help. I don't know. I know that they don't know me, but I feel like me listening to them is what they want, so I'm going to support them that way. I will definitely not be watching it when it first comes out, because I need to pause and walk away and take my time. But that's to Gina's thing, therapy is a beautiful thing when you start building back up. It definitely helps a lot to deal with it. I may not have sat my kid down during the documentary, but I have spoken to him. My husband and I both have, separately and together, about everyone and anyone, and always feeling comfortable that they can talk to us no matter what it is. So those traumas are real. They suck, but they're real, and hopefully everybody's coping in a better manner than I have. That's always my prayer for everyone that goes through trauma. I hope they've coped with it better than I have. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna listen to their stories because they deserve to be listened to.
Yeah, that's love. And I cope in a bottle. So
me too.
I'm in a good place. Not that I'm okay. I'm just at the liquor store right now.
Right?
Me too. Always stocked up.
Listen, I need to get some rum now. Shiv, I know you just hopped in. Thank you for joining. This is your opportunity to really kind of sound off. Give it a few minutes, but talk to me about if you're going to actually continue watching the series and how the series made you feel in a few minutes.
This series hits hard because I was definitely one of those kids growing up. I was a Nickelodeon kid, so in the 90s. So I always wanted to be, I wanted to be on Nickelodeon. I wanted to be one of the guys on, all that because of, seeing Kenan and Kel and, seeing, black guys that look like me doing something that looked like SNL. And my parents grew up watching SNL, so it was like, for me, it was like I always wanted to be on all that because it's almost like I'm honoring my parents in a way. And I'm actually kind of grateful that my mother didn't let me either do like video auditions or send a tape or anything like that. I will continue to watch because as someone who was SA'd, not as a child, but at 19, like Kat said, their stories need to be heard. And it wouldn't be right for me as someone who has survived SA to just stop listening to someone else tell their story, because we all know what it's like to try to tell our story and people turn a blind eye and say like, we don't want to hear that, so I will continue to watch and support everyone, and like Kat, just pray healing on everyone.
I appreciate that shit. Come on, me.
Yes, I will continue to watch because, like Kat said, we owe them at the very least to hear their stories out. Nobody listened when it was important, when it was time to. The least that we can do for them is listen now that they're ready to speak and ready to get those demons out of their closet. Also, listen to your fucking kids, yo. Learn your kids. Learn your kids enough that you notice when they're not acting right, when something is different about them, when their character changes. Listen to your fucking babies, man. Like, let them know that they are not the problem, that it is okay for them to speak out about the things that are happening to them and that the things that are wrong with them. Stop making these babies feel like Roxy said before she hopped off, stop making these kids feel like they have to go away. Like their problems are too small for you to listen to as an adult. You're their first line of fucking defense. Protect your fucking kids, yo.
I love that. Put that gangster on the back end. Talk to me, Shaq.
All right, motherfuckers, listen up. Whether it's at work, at a con, at a party, or you just chilling at your cousin's house.
Preach to him.
The standard is what the fuck you don't stop, all right? I don't care who it is or where you at. We are in an age now where we have multiple resources. We are aware on how to stop some shit and how to listen. Okay? If you can know how to act and listen, you can help solve some of these problems and prevent it in the future. Because what you don't stop, you are part of the problem as well. So get your shit together.
That's that drill sergeant in you. I heard.
Find you some friends that's good with a shovel.
Listen, you
don't
was talking.
Stop I will, motherfucker. Goddamn it!
You was talking all authoritative. I saw a couple squirms. LJ Phoenix, mother, grandmother, you're out here. You're raising these babies in these wild streets. Talk to me. Are you going to keep watching? And what did you feel?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep watching. I mean, we're here now. We're in the year of we telling everything, not even everything, everything is coming out now. I don't know what axis we have flipped, whatever it is, but everybody is telling their stories, and kudos to everybody being brave to be able to tell their stories. I will say though, as a parent, that if something does happen to your child, it is not your fucking fault, but you need to be there for them, and you need to handle that and be that parent for them if something happens to them after. That's one of the biggest things that I can think of that I don't know if we necessarily talk too much. We talked about therapy and things of that nature, but as that parent, it's not your fucking fault, but you got to handle that business though.
Ooh, say that. That's clippable. I like
I'm
that.
glad you said that, LJ.
Yo, that right there is a bar.
Yeah.
Whoo. I think I've said enough. Will I continue to watch? Drake was hard, man. Drake was hard to watch. Drake impacted me. I actually called Gina and I was like, holy hell, I don't know if I'll be able to finish this, because that was me. Like, to see me on screen and to then see the mirrored behaviors of how he acted and know how I've behaved. I've been a strong proponent for I don't need therapy. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you should do what I do. I just, again, I don't know. In Cat checking me about saying toughen up, that's literally my mentality. And I when I say I operate in toughen up, to me, that's what I tell myself every time I go through a pain or a trauma. It ain't no worse than what happened to you. So toughen up, keep going. And it has helped me to always be determined to move forward, but that doesn't mean I do it in the best and healthiest ways. Shit will come out one way or another. And I think that however you find and seek your help, do it in a way that not only is beneficial to you, but also not detrimental to those around you. That's something that I'm learning now. I have a strong, Meek said it. She said, no one protected me. So, I'm going to abuse these kids. My mentality was nobody protected me. So fuck that. I got to protect me now. And my protection over everything.
Can I ask a question?
Oh boy. Go ahead.
How much do you think that the trauma with the situation that you dealt with impacted the opinions that you have about Drake's father?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. That's why I keep that. You see, I got visibly angry.
Yeah.
Like there was
that was personal.
Oh no, listen. That's why I said I hold on. I'm too big.
Rejected.
I'm too big on this screen to have this conversation. I literally had to rant. No. I had to knowingly ramp myself down because I could feel me like you. It's funny. We all get triggered in different ways. I saw when I said
somebody should have done more to protect you.
Listen, I saw Kat's face cut it. I was like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But I'm glad she spoke. No, but see, this is why I love our family. I love our show. I love what we're doing, because you can absolutely say, hey, Kurt, what you said triggered me. And that's not how I operate. And then you're absolutely right. Not realizing shit in having that conversation and what somebody else said about Drake's father, it instantly triggered me. The only difference is I don't go down. I go up. I get angry. I'll cape even harder and be like, no, fuck all that. And then I'll be like, ooh, okay. So I do my best to keep the 300-pound gorilla at bay.
But a lot of Black men think like that. They think that that's how they have to deal with their trauma. And so we have to put it out there and let Black men know it is okay for you to go to therapy. It is okay for you to seek help. You don't have to be strong all the time. I really want Black men to understand that you don't have to be strong all the time.
It's okay to be vulnerable.
There are little Black boys looking up to you to figure out how to navigate a lot of things in life. And as Black people in general, we go through an immense amount of trauma, not just sexually, but in all these different ways. So that angst that you feel, that anger, a lot of that, you're holding this in. You're literally having.
All right, this ain't the Kurt therapy hour.
Also, to say just because we said that his
personally, but in general,
right?
No. And mind you, I'm not. Obviously, I knew I was taking it personally, so I had to self-regulate and check myself. So that's got nothing to do with nobody else. It's just my reaction to things. And
But before you cut me off, I was going to
because
say
it's too much about Kurt. God damn it.
you have a not just you. This is for a lot of black men. You have a dam that's holding back a well of emotions, and then we wonder why they out in the street fighting, why they out in the street shooting each other, why do they have no kind of they don't
Empathy.
care about life, they don't they don't have empathy, they don't care about life, they don't have a consideration for other people's feelings, or is disregard completely. A lot of it is because it's coming out in a different way. And if they had a safe space to get these emotions out the proper way,
Yeah.
some of this shit wouldn't be going on.
Also, can I just say, like, you can do everything right and still fail. Just
Yeah.
because you failed doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It just means that ultimately the outcome wasn't the desired one. And like, as a parent who who knows that, like, on some level I fail my child every day, that is something that I have to live with, and something that I just strive to be better the next day. Taking accountability for my failings helps me be mindful in the days going forward, so that I can know where I messed up yesterday, so I can not mess up today in that same way. So it's okay, like, and you're not going to win every single fight, and some of them are going to be big losses and some of them are going to be little tiny ones. But to fail, it doesn't mean that you didn't try and that you didn't give it 110%.
That sounds good. I'd rather be an emotionally unavailable alcoholic. Thank you. So,
Nah, to Tef's point though, growing up in a household where like that never happened to you, I didn't do nothing wrong. A lot of the times, just a parent taking accountability for the fact that, yes, I may or may not have failed you, and I'm sorry, goes a long fucking way with your kids. Goes like as far as healing and trauma response.
No, I do not disagree. I'm not going to. I am trying to strengthen and mend a lot of things between me and my mom now, and I'm going to stop there about my own personal business, because that's enough of that on this goddamn show. Teffy's going to have the final word, but I just want to say I absolutely.
That's why your chakras blocked.
Right. Look, fuck them chakras. At this point, I don't need them chakras. You can keep them motherfuckers locked up. I am 40. I am about to be 42 years old. I have buried this shit so deep. Don't go bringing up skeletons so they can do the.
That's a lot of the reason why you are the way you are, though.
Yeah, and you know what? It has.
But think of how much better you could be
God.
if you heal.
Jesus Christ! You know what? Head nurse in charge, y'all. We get ready to wrap this shit up.
Go to therapy, damn it.
Next episode, Kurt's therapy.
Next episode is just us giving Kurt therapy.
You see that shit? I'm gonna be like, I'll be Drake. I'm squirming and shit. Like, look, whatever you think of.
But we all will be here for you. But we will all be here for you.
Kurt
So
is,
next episode, Kurt's therapy.
I will say this. I went to Gina after her show watching it in Unicorns. I was in the comments and I said, your show, that episode made me, for the first time in my life, consider going to therapy. I don't believe in therapy at fucking all. I'm a fucking lion. I am
better than getting drunk and crying in the shower, Kurt.
Listen, I said, look, I do that whether I was sober or that's just fun for me. But what I'm trying,
that's a Wednesday night, my boy.
That's about to be. What would you say, about 12 o'clock? Yeah, that sounds about. That's the way I wind the fuck down. A good cry and some liquor. Shit.
I cry in the shower because nobody can tell.
Yo,
that's a trauma response, babe.
How about we
Look, the fact that you learned to cry in the shower so nobody can tell is a trauma response.
Oh no, Meek, your internet's about to go out. Look, I want to give Teffy the final word.
You're considering therapy. Yeah, finish that sentence.
I will look into that. What I will say is I recognize that the things this is why I'm this because I want to wrap out. The reason I'm going to continue to watch is to not so much watch this, and I'm gonna be keeping a buck. I'm not watching to support them per se. I'm watching to see how they responded to the trauma and healed and got better. Because my own personal coping mechanisms, though very comfortable for me, may not be the most conducive for my environment and those around me. So I take that into account.
Stop trying to garner healing from somebody else's progress.
Woo, Lord.
That's deep.
Dang.
I know it's a bar. I just don't know what it means. But what she said,
yeah, you do. That's why you know it's a bar.
That don't go, say it again. Say it again.
Stop trying to garner healing from somebody else's progress.
But see, that's the thing. I don't really rely on anybody.
Then why are you watching the show? That's what you just said.
Well, I watch the show because I watch all the shows.
Because you want to see how they healed, so you can do it too.
Oh. You mean the Nickelodeon niggas? Yeah. No, I like frame of references. If I put it like this. If I don't realize I have a problem with a thing and somebody says you have a problem with the thing, and I'm like, well, damn, I never saw it, then maybe I don't have the capabilities to see it. Let me look at other niggas who I'm like, yeah, they got that problem. And
that's
see
what therapy is for, baby, to help you.
Oh no, that's too much.
Yeah.
I'll just
therapist could get you there so much faster.
Baby,
listen, I watch Quiet
it's
on
almost
Set.
like you need therapy.
Listen, look, Quiet on Set. I'm almost healed, baby. I'm here. What you talking about? I'm almost quiet on Set. Fix me, baby. I'm all right. Look at this. Look at God.
Look at
I'm
God.
trying to give you the goddamn final word. Just let me finish my shit so I can go ahead on. Stop helping these motherfuckers therapize me. What I'm trying.
I just farted so loud at your that.
What I'm trying to say is I am going to continue to watch, and I'm going to continue having these conversations on this platform because it's important. One platform may have failed the children around them, but here we are as adults standing tall. We have not all gained the best coping mechanisms, but I tell you what we did learn to do. We learned to tell the fucking stories. And we
drink
learned,
like a sailor, baby.
Yeah, that too, because I'll drink any of you niggas under the table. But aside from that, also
getting tatted is another good way aside from therapy.
In fact, I'm getting into tat therapy, but then that makes me a masochist. That's a whole nother conversation. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is hearing Meek talk about her experience. It's hearing Kat talk about it, and then realizing, shit, I'm not alone. To hear Chivalrous say, I'm a survivor. I'm not alone. To hear the experiences of women in the workplace and how you've been put down and some of the most egregious shit that has happened to you, it makes me check myself as a man and say, hey, maybe that behavior, you need to look into that. Maybe you need to either stop doing that or make sure that is okay still. It's listening to my brothers like Shaq and Bass and Don and hearing how they handle situations and being like, okay, if I did not know how to handle that situation, now I do. Frame of reference from men that I respect. At the end of the day, that only happens because we talk about it. So any way that we can keep the conversation and communication going, I'm with the shits. Teffy Wonder, you have the floor and the final word.
To start, will I continue watching? Probably, for sure, as long as we're covering it. I believe I'm gonna keep up with it and see like where it goes. But like I said, as somebody who binge watched Surviving R. Kelly in like a 72-hour like time period, I need a break from the sexual assault. I ain't gonna hold you. If for no other reason than to keep me from being desensitized. When something else happens, it's like how Black Lives Matter, we were like inundated with all these like images of like broken Black bodies and all the terrible things that were like happening in the news. Like sometimes you got to step away from it just so that you don't miss out on the true horror of it because you become so inundated with those images. So I think for me in my house, I may just step back a little bit. And then a lot of you guys know I did have something terrible happen to my son in like real life. So as someone who's like dealing with it and like preparing myself to deal with like the ramifications thereof, in the very near future is a lot. Is a lot for me. So I'm gonna give it some distance, but I will definitely keep up with it for sure. These people gave their lives to entertain us, and as you all have said, I think it is the very least that we can do is to listen to those stories, and help them be heard as much as we can. Speaking of therapy though, it's fucking expensive. There is public health
See?
resources. Shut your
You
ass
got
up.
good insurance,
Shut
nigga.
your ass up. I'm not done. There are public resources, public health centers where you can go to get therapy. There's also like different avenues and apps and stuff like that. One that I use personally, it's called the Open Path Collective. I was able to get myself a therapist at a reduced rate because I thought I was going to lose my job and lose my insurance. So I've been with my therapist there for over a year. They have a huge selection. They work all across the country. You can get some that take insurance or you can pay privately on like a sliding scale. So if you would like, I recommend it to everyone. The Open Path, I believe it's openpathcollective.com or .org. You can go there. You pay $60 for a lifetime membership, and then you just find you a therapist in your price range. They have ones that are with different specialities. So whatever your issue is, whatever your twist, kink, trauma, there's somebody there who can assist you. Like my therapist helps people who want to be on, who like specialize on like millennials who like do like social media and are interested in influencing and career development and all of those things. And you can get family therapists and stuff like that. That's $60. That $60 is a lifetime membership, and then you can get a therapist for like between $20 and $50 and stuff like that. So it's not super it's not as expensive as you might think. I know that may still be a lot of money for some folks, but your mental health, the mental well-being of the people who depend on you is 100% worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to consent, what do we say?
You better get consent, bitch, or you getting fucked up.
Oh, that's not. I was
We
going.
fight niggas over here.
I was thinking about.
Niggas over here.
I thought I was thinking about Bob. Yeah, yeah.
Listen, back row justice. What Meek said.
Yeah.
Hey, look, your baby's always safe as long as they with me. Auntie got a gun, auntie got a bat, and auntie like to fight.
Nigga, say the catchphrase.
Oh, what? Oh, that's my person. I don't know you.
Hey, let's rumble.
I don't know you.
Please teach your kids to kick niggas in the nuts whenever they come into their private spaces if they don't.
Also,
Yeah, that part. Yeah. Kick them right in the and kick them in the clitoris too. God damn it, they hurt just the same.
There's a statistic that shows that in a dangerous situation, children are taught to find a black man because a black man is more likely to protect them in a situation in which an adult is overstepping a boundary.
Listen, as my nieces found out this weekend, I am over fucking protective. I have multiple guns for just that occasion. And if you have
aim straight, baby.
Listen, and if you have children anywhere within my intermediate family as well as my extended family, or if your children just around, just know it's up with any one of us because we absolutely protect the kids around these parts.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure to follow the High Heel Gamer, Black Chivalrous Nerd, Siren by Night, Thursdays. Check them out. You can check out Infamous Meek right here every Wednesday on HNIC, as well as LJ Phoenix coming through as the Cuzzos. My man Shaq Deezy doing this thing, protecting the country, being Superman, super nigga, super half nigga.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's racist.
That was racist again. But
Very racist.
But
I'm
my
offended.
favorite otaku,
Triggered?
that motherfucker charge up and tell you about 150 of his pseudo-names. And of
happy
course,
Autism Acceptance Month.
be on the lookout for the Awesome Day Pod, right, Tef?
Yeah. Yeah, right, Curtis.
Listen, I gave you the goddamn intro. Now I'm up. I'm ahead of you. I'm ahead of you.
I on your name.
Listen, a whole year and some change.
Yo, she definitely said that with some.
Yeah, a year later.
All right, enough on Kurt. Shit, I'm traumatized.
We love you.
I'm traumatized.
We know. That's why we keep talking to you.
It was my trauma. No, fuck y'all. I ain't doing this with y'all. Look, y'all. Thank y'all for sticking with us. We ended up. I should have known that we wasn't gonna stick to 2 hours.
Obviously,
this was a heavy one, and it can't always be jokes. It can. We can have levity in some situations, but I really appreciate.
Take your sad bitch Skittles, guys.
Yo, I just want to thank specifically those who told their stories of abuse. That shit is not fucking easy. And as far as I'm concerned, you are braver souls than any other people on earth, because to speak about trauma from a vulnerable place where you could not help what happened to you makes you a tough kid in my book. So that's the show. See y'all next week. I promise it'll be about titties and something to make you laugh.
Yeah, I bring the paid actors back.
Yeah, it's a consensual titty. Look, I'll even have my man.
Titties, baby.
I'll pull my moves out, and we'll figure this shit out. Don't worry about it. But we love you. Take care of each other, and never forget to protect one another, whether it be in con spaces or in everyday life. See y'all next Wednesday.
9.